Welcome everyone on a NFL-less Sunday afternoon. College basketball. I'm not gonna let it usurp this. Although we had a nice audible switcheroo. I want to welcome David, the violinist, for thankfully joining us today, generously joining us today.
Oh, thanks for
And
having me.
yeah, at any time. And I want to of course, Control F is with us on Sunday. Say hello, Control F.
I don't know who this Control F is, but my name is Sarah. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
As much as your Control F command has changed my life, that's gonna be your new nickname, by the way. One of your new nicknames. Changed my life in terms of saving me ample time on gunk looking for specific words. There's a slight glitch in it. Um, I know you take a lot of ownership of Control F. I know you created the command. The only problem with it is when you go through documents that are not in whatever script that is, it doesn't identify the word in. So if you go through, you know what I mean, like a
Like a PDF
PDF.
document.
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe
Okay.
there's some other command for it. But today I was looking for Gwyneth Paltrow, and Jesus Christ, you know how when you're looking for, say it's a 600-page document,
Yeah.
you're looking for a specific moment or word. Of course, it's going to be on the 585th page,
Right.
not the 15th page. So you
Right.
have to speed read all. It never is. So it was in germane to the Gwyneth Paltrow ski stuff you're hearing today. I wanted to tie it into Depp somehow, and I thought it would
Yeah.
take 2 seconds. It took me 45 minutes to go through.
They did a movie together, right?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it. Mortdecai,
Okay, got it. Okay. Oh, Mortdecai.
directed
That's right.
by David Kep, who
Okay.
who is the writer of Spider-Man 1, and he directed Secret Window.
Okay.
By the
I
way,
don't know.
speaking of secret window, in my avatar, Camilla is wrapped in a secret window blanket.
Oh,
I noticed that.
wow. That's so great. That's so cool. That's fucking Mort Rainey from Secret Window. It's a Stephen King novel, by the way.
I thought
Yes.
I was having a stroke because I was like, is Arm's profile picture also in the blanket in Sarah's?
I
Oh,
have a
speaking of
Johnny
my
Fever blanket wrapped
Yeah.
Camilla up in.
Okay.
profile,
No.
that's obviously Howard Hessman, Dan Schneider's colleague and head of the class. If you get to watch our Jump Street Patreon thing we just released, what's it called again? What's the title again, Sarah?
Higher
The
education.
Higher Education. I keep confusing it with Hall and Oates' Adult Education.
Yeah.
It's such a forgettable generic title, Higher Education.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't even know. I guess you could say, oh, it's about. I mean, there's a triple threat here. It's teen pregnancy, right, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
The statutory rape with all the teacher student relationship, very ahead of
Huh.
its time. And there's a third thing in there,
Not a
right?
bad episode for Jump
No, it's
Street.
not bad. What's the third thing they try to teach us?
Um,
Statutory
Jesus.
rape, teen
Don't date
pregnancy.
producers of a Donahue-like talk show.
Yes, that's right. That's right. The Barry Prince show. The Barry Prince show.
Yes.
Did Marlo Thomas write that episode?
Listen to David with a Marlo Thomas reference. Speaking of David, holy shit! I'm texting with him about this, and we're
Oh
going
yeah.
back and forth, and you could just say, all right, all of a sudden he drops. Where the hell is my phone? He
Talisman.
drops Talisman on me, and texts 1,000 things after that. I can't concentrate. It's like sending me nude pics. When you say a word like
Jesus Christ.
talisman, I couldn't concentrate. I'm like, did he just say talisman in a text? I think he used it as an adjective as well. I'm just like, I have not heard talisman since the 1500s.
Yeah, that was
Good God.
after midnight my vocabulary becomes much better.
So we're gonna hopefully we can drop a talisman. Can you arpeggiate a talisman? Is that possible?
I'm sure you can. I gotta make a video of myself playing an arpeggio on a piano just so you see what it is someday.
I'm trying to look for this exchange right here. I wish I could almost post. I should have copied these texts because
Us bitching about show business.
Yeah. It's all about. I know it turns into like a nepo baby. The music industry. The gist of this conversation was how and you're absolutely right. How soundtracks and composers are better than actual musicians who get signed. And that was kind of the gist of it. And one of my points is like, we were saying, because we had this conversation on Gunk, how the best musicians, there's no such thing as a best guitarist. It's the stupidest thing in the world. There are people who got signed and you're calling them the best. They're not the best.
Yeah.
If you really tested out every guitarist around, it would never be those people that we always bring up, the same fucking 10 Guitar Hero names we always bring up.
Well, also there's always the in band that did it first. They took the heat of like working out the style and revolutionizing the art form. And then there's some, once they figure it out, some mainstream asshole rips it off and they go big with it, you know. So there's always an originator who's underground and just couldn't figure out how to be a big enough narcissist to work the show business machine to get famous, and then the people who just ripped off the style and went mainstream with it, you know.
That's exactly where I'm going in a way. And Bill Maher I fucking, did you see Real Time on Friday night? He had a Deppo-Baby rant for 7 minutes. And it's like ridiculous. Like the parallels to what we talk about all the time. It's eerie how similar this is. And one of the things in it, and I say this in terms of music, these guys, like these best guitarists, if the music really spoke for itself, if it was all about the sound and the music you're making, then you wouldn't be worried about your look or your image or constantly, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't have to have a gimmick if the music truly spoke for yourself. If you were quote unquote the best guitarist, then you wouldn't be worrying about your hair and your fucking look and your vest and your skull rings. It would speak for itself, wouldn't it? You wouldn't. That proves you're not the best because you're obsessed with your look, because you know the music doesn't really you know it's bullshit and it's arbitrary.
Yeah, I heard in an interview, I think Randy Newman was on Mark Maron's podcast, and he was talking about how he never thought music through, you know, profound lyrics or a moving song could change the world. He said, like, Madonna's more likely to change the world with what she's wearing than with what she's singing about.
Very well said. And Randy Newman looks reluctant to play that game because, like, it was the laziest way possible. He's like, all right, I'll put sunglasses on and I don't know, I'll color my hair and put that's all I'm doing. I'll put sunglasses on. That's all you're getting out of me. That's my gimmick. I have sunglasses. Well, I want to say hi to everyone in the chat. Midlife Crisis, welcome, sir. And a deafening Sunday afternoon. What a nice treat. Skyrockets in Flight, Afternoon Delight. Afternoon Delight was a song that Depp quoted as a song that he would never be like. That would not influence him in music. That's too cheesy for him. I remember a Rolling Stone essay he wrote about Thompson and his influences growing up. And he said that his brother introduced him to certain music, and Afternoon Delight would not be influencing him anytime soon. I swear to God.
That's disappointing. Shoots my fantasy down.
I would Control F. Wouldn't you love to hear him cover Afternoon Delight with the vampires instead of the kind of hackneyed dinosaur rock cliche?
How about none of the above?
Okay.
But before we get into this, I need to grift, okay? So we can get it over with. We are still, as you can see if you're in the chat, if you can see from the pin message, we are still $130 away from our goal for the month. So, and I want to thank A. Smith. He has already started off the super chat train. Thank you, sir, as always. Very generous, and I love you on our Patreon.
Is he in here yet?
Yes, he is. He's here. Everybody, if you can, super chat us, super sticker us, super thanks us, or join us over on patreon.com/wino forever. Everything we net goes to Mr. Arm. I see none of it. Thank you.
What? Come on, Tracy Jacobs. Don't you get at least a Buckwald fee?
If we go above the goal, yes.
Yeah.
I can maybe put $1 or $2 toward the StreamYard subscription.
You're a shrewd negotiator. There's just no question. Hooper 45, welcome, sir. There's A. Smith. They always have food chat in the beginning. Always makes me hungry. Great to start the 3-hour show or whatever we do, and you just get the hungries. These guys. It's always something delectable they're talking about. By the way, when you say duck, is succulent created just for duck? Like, can you use it in any other food? It's always duck and succulent. Succulent has to be the adjective for duck and nothing else.
Also a plant, but that's all I know.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the cacti family.
Who are you, Pamela Isley over there? I did not know that. Poison Ivy. Thank you very much.
You're
What
very
would you rather
welcome.
have, Poison Ivy or Control F as a nickname?
Poison Ivy.
Yeah, okay.
That's a cool name. Yeah,
it is a cool name.
Yeah.
What'd you think about Gwyneth Paltrow in Batman Forever?
Oh, I thought you meant on trial. I was like, I
No.
can't stand to look at that sourpuss anymore.
No, I'm sorry. I meant Uma Thurman. I'm sorry, Uma. I meant Uma Thurman, who I like a lot.
She's tainted
Poison
forever
Ivy.
by Ethan Hawke, but
But she got the like she was the original getting cheated on with the nanny, right?
she might be the only good thing about what Batman. What was the fourth movie?
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, that's right. She's the only good thing about that movie.
With Schwarzenegger.
That's right.
Lucius Silverstone. Oh, shudder.
Oh my God. How about Chris O'Donnell, 38-year-old Robin?
Oh, I had a Chris O'Donnell as Robin poster on my wall.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I'm so ashamed.
Besides CSI Cleveland or whatever the fuck it is, when is the last time you've seen Chris O'Donnell in something?
I don't know. I only really knew him from the Batman movies and Son of a Woman. But yeah,
I saw him in that Renee Zellweger movie he did, I think.
Yeah.
In the theater. Oh.
Artie's in that. The Bachelor, you talking about?
No, I don't think. Is it The Bachelor?
Yeah, Artie plays his sidekick
Oh
in The
God,
Bachelor.
I don't even remember Artie.
I swear to God,
It's a horrible movie.
It's actually a pretty big role for Artie. Like I don't know. I would love to know what the budget of that movie was and stuff. Chris O'Donnell was a pretty big star at that time.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I have nothing against Chris O'Donnell. He seems like a really nice guy. He's a huge Depp fan, by the way. He would sing his praises when no one else was in the 90s. I remember that.
I got to review Artie's
Very
IMDb
average.
because
there's a lot of missed nuggets in there. Yes.
Yeah.
And the Bachelor is one of them. Like people forget about I think when he first came on Howard, he would bring that up a lot, and then it just got forgotten. It got buried by Elf and shit like that.
Howard can't be reminded that Artie has done more movies than him.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
He's 1,000 times better actor. I was just thinking about Howard on the Larry Sanders Show because I found a clip of it just ties into what we're doing later. Rochelle Hathaway, Nicolas Cage's brother, Mark Coppola,
yes,
is in. He was a DJ at K-Rock, and at night. And Stuttering John interviewed one time, and he goes,
"He's on the show a few times on the E Show."
Yeah, he was on the E Show. Yeah,
I remember seeing that.
He's in this movie that I found with Rochelle Hathaway. Really, you talk about a cameo, a blink and you miss. It's called Bling Ring, and guess who the director is? Just speaking of nepo babies and nepotism, and I don't know if that's
Sofia Coppola.
Yes, David,
you said
right, dude.
Oh my gosh!
I can't believe you got that so fast.
That was a stab in the dark. Okay,
I figured it out 10 minutes ago when I was making this clip. I looked down and I'm like, what? This movie is called Bling Ring, and it's a Hollywood send up of rich kids they're rich kids. Yeah, it might be a true story.
It is a true story. It's
based on a
true story. No, there's actually a ring of deviants going around to mansions and ripping off celebrities.
Yeah, they're middle class kids who want to be rich and famous, and they just start stealing everything in sight around them.
Okay.
And they go on to go to clubs and Paris Hilton and the bottle service and shit. And he plays the dad in this, and that's his cousin, Sofia Coppola.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage's brother, Mark Coppola. Nicolas Cage changes. I mean, like nepotism just and Nicolas Cage got Depp into the industry. It's amazing how you can tie Depp into everything.
There's a Coppola who's I think the composer on Godfather 3 is Carmine Coppola, who also did like Black Beauty or the Black Stallion in the 70s, and so the whole family's it's like the Kimmels, it's just like every Kimmel is involved in that show.
I agree with Sarah, who was telling me this last week. There's not enough Carmines in this world. You're not naming
an
the
old
kids
world.
It's like an old Carmine Ragusa from Vernon and Shirley. It's like the last
when
time.
I have to.
Very deep. It's either a mafia name or it's Carmine Ragusa, and that's it. It's a good.
Right.
I need to marry a Carmine. I love Italian men. A Carmine is perfect.
Yeah.
Can you be a Carmine without being Italian?
No.
No, I don't think it's possible.
Carmine Mankiewicz or Carmine McDaniel. Is it possible or not?
Probably not.
David won't be here today. He is a chair yoga and
mall walking.
mall walking this evening. Did you mention that? Did you?
No, it's old. It's old people jokes. Yeah.
Oh shit! That's right. That the old people do that. They open the mall at like 7.
Yes, that's the only reason malls exist now is
oh
the
my
AM
God.
the AM hours for old people
That's
to walk.
Great joke, Hooper. They don't tear the malls down just because old people want to power walk in them?
Most malls have 2 or 3 stores and a club of geriatric morning walkers.
Yeah.
It's basically a walking track now.
Yeah.
It is a waste of space.
Yeah. The malls are eyesores now. But yeah, Hooper is the only one keeping the David is old jokes alive. So I commend you, sir.
They'll come back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's Josh Foster. Welcome, sir. Who I was thinking about Josh Foster the other day. I saw this old reference. Who, my buddy Bianca Lana over here. He's the only one that's going to know that. Lauren Marie, welcome. She had a great rant in the Patreon about 90210. I can't wait to read. And Jump Street. And I can't wait to read that the next. Are you going to be in the next 90210, David? Commentary?
I'm not giving. There's no pressure if he wants to.
No, I'm not doing any kind of.
Yeah,
I'm not putting him on the spot. He can do whatever he wants.
I mean, let me know when you're recording, and if I am free, I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay.
So, we can email about it.
I got to figure it out. Yeah.
Did you reveal your plans further expansion on the commentary, the show,
and the other show?
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I gotta get a better handle on scheduling for the first one.
Okay.
Before I move on to another.
Thank you.
The Deppeninger is going to be doing like 16 disparate shows that have nothing to do with Johnny Depp.
I'll try to tie each one of them in because I'm sure this particular show has guest stars galore that I could probably. I know one off the bat is Billie Jane. Who was on.
Was it Golden Girls?
3rd episode. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. He was on. He was on the 3rd episode of Jump Street.
Mm-hmm.
He played the mechanical genius in the auto shop class.
That's the first one I sat in on. Yeah.
Hooper goes, "What's up, Toots?" Lauren Marie, is she a Toots? Jesus, I don't know.
It's 1943. All of a sudden.
Speaking of 1943,
yeah,
we call Sarah Toots once in a while, but it's always a term of endearment. I feel
it never bothers me. My grandfather used to call women broads.
Yeah,
I still call women broads in his honor. So.
I definitely do that. I hate men. I hate men. I know I'm not serious when I do that. Thank you, Midlife Crisis. The WKRP reference that I was saying before, this guy in Jump Street, Donald Prentice, the father of Joy Prentice, is a dead effing ringer for Howard Hessman on WK. I mean, when you see this, you're not going to stop thinking about it. Just picture him with amber vision on. He looks like a cross between fucking Brad Davis from the Mavericks, the backup combo guard in the 80s, and Howard Hessman. But he looks more like Howard Hessman.
He also plays the first decent parent cast on this show of a perpetrator and or victim.
Totally. He should his alibi, sir, when he walked into the school was, "I'm the new baseball coach. Can I speak to the athletic director?" And they would have just pointed him right to.
Yeah, exactly.
Sue Monster, welcome. Happy Sunday, Winos. I'm totally here with you. I just have my pup in the other hand. That makes 2 of us. Sue Monster. And I ain't talking about canines. We got the 9 right. I'm just kidding. Stupid.
That bull mastiff you've got that you're petting.
Martling. It's the stupid Jackie Martling.
Want to hear something funny? Look down.
Well, that was what with David. We were going back about the fucking talisman. I'm like, I was so distracted. I'm about to go. I got a talisman in my pants, and I just like.
Oh my god!
I don't know what stopped me. I didn't want to like be reductive towards the word. I didn't want him to stop using those words, so I didn't even want to like make it look like he didn't want to. I got a talisman between my legs. I haven't heard talisman since like
the Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
Greg Brady Bunch goes to Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's right. That's good, Sarah. Greg Brady's taboo.
I love that music.
Oh, wow. Midlife Crisis beat me to it. I didn't even see the exchange. I got to it late. Your pup, in the other hand, is that what the kids call it these days? I think that's what he means. I was in the Mayan Riviera a couple years ago, G. Canada. Nice brag. Nice brag. I suppose you drove drunk to that. What are you on, some kind of drug deal? I met some girls from Cincinnati. I asked them about WKRP. They had no.
Oh,
Wow, that's
Jesus.
how old we get, right? You
Great
can't even
pickup
make that.
line.
I know.
No
great
wonder.
pickup
No
line.
wonder they pretended they didn't know who you were or what you
It's
were
like
talking about.
it's like Gordon Jump himself was hitting on them. Hey, I was on WKRP. They call me the big guy, and that doesn't mean the head of the radio station. If you know what I mean.
I'm sure you know me from the famous turkey drop episode.
They had no idea what I was talking about. They weren't kidding. I couldn't talk to them anymore. Oh God, that's such a funny story, G. Canada.
I like
They
to
did
dress
a
up as Lonnie
remake of that.
Anderson once in a while in a V-neck sweater
That's right.
Did
and
you
that hair.
say again,
Oh
sir?
my God.
I like to dress up as Lonnie Anderson once in a while from KRP and in that V-neck sweater and helmet hair. I love it.
Who
Men
would
love
win
it
in a,
too.
this is an old reference too. Who would win in a fight, Herb Tarlick or Larry Dallas from Three's
I don't
Company?
even know who you're talking about. So Herb.
Herb is on 90210 W90210. He plays the what
In
was he?
Beverly
He
Hills.
was the salesman. Was he an advertising salesman? I forget what his occupation was.
Is he the one with the black hair and he wore
Yes.
like the patterned suits?
Yes. He's
Okay, I
Larry
don't
Dallas
remember.
of WKRP.
I think Don Knotts would win.
That's God damn it! How great is Three's Company? What if genuinely?
It's so
There's
silly.
nothing like it. It's so
Yeah.
stupid, but there's nothing like it.
No, it's comforting. Yeah, for sure.
It is very. You are comforting, and so you were the second most comforting thing after Three's Company.
Ugh.
Speaking of, you want to bring him back to Depp in the worst, in the
Oh, yeah, is that
dumbest
what
way
that show's
possible?
about?
No, it is. It is. So Brasco and Lefty at the climax, and Donnie Brasco are skulking on the docks to rub out Sonny Red's son Bruno, who's on a boat on the docks, and they peek into his boat, and he's watching Three's Company on the mini TV when the FBI blows up the operation. You remember that when the Pistone is contemplating, he's trying not to shoot him because he's on the job, he can't shoot him, and then the FBI just raids the whole thing. But Bruno's son's watching. I'm sorry, Sonny Red's son is watching Three's Company, and the only reason I know that, you can't even see it when you watch the movie, but you can see it when you know it's there. I'm reading the credits about the 10th time I saw the movie, and at the end of it, it says Three's Company, they have to give the rights to it.
Right,
So
the copyright.
I'm like, what? Where is this? And so I'm scanning through. I'm like, oh my God, you really have to give the rights to. I'm telling you, this thing is a fucking. It is a chicklet on the movie screen.
Right.
When you see it. It's crazy. You have to give rights to that.
They had to pay Joyce DeWitt handsomely for that clip.
How do you know Joyce DeWitt? Good God. Who am I? Priscilla Barnes over here. Good God, David.
Did Sarah drop out?
I don't know.
Her
I don't
square
see her
is
on
gone. Yeah.
Hopefully she comes back.
Yeah.
Control F. Come back, Control F. Come back. You're listening. That is an indication of some uncultured troglodytic swine over there, says Midlife Crisis. There she is. Control F?
Yeah, I was hovering to go back into the chat and go through the super chats that we're not getting to.
Let me get to it now. You're right.
Weird Entertainment Weekly website.
Three's Company is just so distracting. I can't. Thank you, Josh Foster. Speaking of great appearances at different times, watch again. This guy and Simon Rex. It is crazy. It is so funny. I don't know what to compare this to. Like obsession with a weird actor. Like there's got to be a movie in this. Josh Foster and Simon Rex. Is speaking of all guest appearances at different times in Baywatch. We had Sofia Vergara, which I did not know. Simon Rex and Bryan Cranston. Good God.
I love that Simon Rex is the only one he gives a season reference point to. Like we can find him in season 7.
And then he lumps him in with Bryan Cranston, for Christ's sake, who's possibly the star of the greatest TV show in history.
One of these things is not like the other. Yeah.
I cannot. The Simon Rex name is forever tainted with that solo movie he did, solo video, I should say, that he did back in like the late 80s. I'm not going to tell you what it's called, but let's just say he's by himself. And yes, I watched it.
Brandon, hey, go ahead, Debbie. I'm sorry.
Do you notice you never see Josh Foster and Simon Rex in the same room?
You don't. I think you said that in the gunk chat the other night, and I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
So many great lines. I had a great idea for a gunk because the chat's so brilliant. Like this, you know how Howard his whole thing is he's got 70 people, and let's say they're all writing his dialogue for him. And like he seems to have no thoughts that are original anymore. Like maybe 5% of the thoughts are not pre-written for him.
Right.
If we just did a radio gunk and we don't acknowledge the chat, we just steal everything they say in the chat. This is like what you guys are actually funny. Unlike the Stern staff, it would be like if the Stern staff were actually funny and we just read the brilliant stuff that comes out of the chat, but we don't acknowledge it to anybody. We just steal it the whole time.
That's hilarious.
We do a whole show just stealing all the material from the chat, which people do, by the way, in real StreamYard shows. Yeah, I see it all the time.
I believe that.
I think I've had stuff stolen where they just incorporate it into their dialogue and go, what?
Right.
The title of their podcast.
Yeah, the title is not right. Well, they title it the actual podcast.
Mm-hmm.
McDowell's
Taco Queen.
Lauren Marie, thank you again. I thought I muted myself. This is the thing where I
don't think that's possible for you.
My knees. Oh my! Listen to Liz Cheney. You're like a sitcom wife.
Hey, I'm glad you don't because it makes it easy for me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you want everything. You said, I don't know if I would want to switch places with you in that your filmmaking skills.
I'll let you do it. I'll bring the show and take it right into the ditch. But if I'm in charge of it and leading the way, but hey, have fun with the videos.
Hooper, I love a good this. Blank this. I know it's like a simpleton humor. It gets me every time. I will never get tired of that, putting this at the end of something.
Yeah.
The next episode of 21 Jump Street, Hansen is on the cover. It's like a racial tension episode, and it's like a race. I was thinking in the shower before. I don't understand what he's doing at the school. I don't know what the assignment is. Is the assignment Hansen? There's racial tension. Go in there. Like, what is the? I can't remember. And that's going to be a premise, I think, for us. Like, figure out what, Sarah. Like a lot of times with Jump Street, it makes no sense why they even go in there. Like this thing, I think, really doesn't make sense. I can't.
Yeah, are there episodes where they have to act as like social workers? Is that the point of it?
That's kind of what it. Yeah, they're like, well, at the end they'll do a public service announcement, and it's like,
but there's no crime.
There's no actual crime. You're like, well, why? You have to, in order to go get the clearance to do this, there has to be a crime committed. And so often there isn't. You go, oh, that's right. That was the reason they went in there is never even like, Sarah, do you remember why Aoki went into that last school? The last one we did with the date.
I don't even think they mentioned it. They didn't mention why.
I don't think that they mentioned what the hell he was even doing at that school.
No, they didn't.
And
he just said that he was investigating someone else. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't think they did.
You know, it's an ongoing thing with Jump Street too. I just remembered. You remember that the Cheryl and Fenn episode with the first McQuaid brothers?
Mm-hmm.
There's an ongoing thing on Jump Street where the cops love to go to the house of the person they're not supposed to go to without any authorization from Fuller or Jenko or whatever. And then that causes a problem because they can't handle the investigation. So they'll go over the house themselves and get into a confrontation with the father of somebody.
Yeah.
So remember when Hansen shot?
That'll make it better.
It'll make it better. They love that. I think that happens like 5 more times. But so like in this episode, Aoki's the one accused of having, and it's falsely accused, and it's very ties into today's thing with the teachers in the school. It's always the female though having sex with the younger male. This is right. So
I wonder who wrote those scripts.
But this is the male teacher having sex with but she's supposedly legal.
She's 18.
So it's not actually, and then, but that's, for some reason, we have deemed it much more appropriate for the female teacher to have sex with the underage male student than the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the
you're not a
story.
pedophile if you're hot. So
Exactly. It's all about exactly, Sarah.
My mom graduated from high school in '81, and she told me that when she was a senior in high school, one of her friends who was 18 was like dating the history teacher, and there was no secret about it. It was just like accepted, and yeah, super creepy.
It's
the different era.
Different rules for different people too, right? Like Sarah said, if you're hot, it doesn't. You're not as accountable.
Right.
It will give you a pass.
Well, that's why I think of the other Jump Street I sat in on, the pet the teacher one, or don't pet the teacher, whatever it's called.
Yeah, they were going in that direction. Exactly right. That's exactly right.
The female teacher was worried about God, I forget the guy who was trying to get him tickets or something, trying to get Depp.
Oh, Jeffrey Stone.
Jeffrey Stone. So she's worried about Jeffrey Stone maybe having a crush on her as a student, but while she thinks Depp is a student, she doesn't care that he's making advances.
Because he's better looking than Jeffrey is, and they're still underage.
Right.
You don't know what age of consent. They don't even say what state it is. That's number one. But
we know it's the Evergreen State, the 200th time.
Okay, look up the age of consent in the Evergreen State for me. See if you can find it.
15. I just looked it up.
But nevertheless, they're underage. So that's not even, we just go along with that because, and then he drops in on her at the restaurant, you know, and he's eating her salad and shit. Like, you know, most 16-year-olds do in the,
right, with Kenny G playing in the whole Yeah.
we had Kenny G in the last one too.
Oh, did you? Oh,
yes.
Kenny G overload.
Yeah.
I had a whole Kenny G rant, how he takes credit for this video. It said, don't make me wait for love this time. And this singer, this black singer, Lenny, you get the NAACP on this. The guy sings the entire song with Kenny G playing this watered down horrible jazz. And not saying he's a mediocre sax player. Probably
it's shitty music. Yeah,
yes.
I mean,
he's no Tom Hansen, but his name is in the album. He gets credit over it. And this guy, Lenny Williams, is singing. He's a really good singer, too. The whole song. He's not mentioned in the video. He's not shown in the video. There's no mention. They don't even have like a silhouette of him singing. It's so ridiculous. If I'm the NAACP, I'm going after Kenny G tomorrow. And he looks like Anthony Cumia, by the way, in his early days.
Yeah.
Oh, does he? Oh,
yeah, with
in the rot gut era. If anybody knows what that is.
Well, it's like John Saxon getting billed over Heather Langenkamp. You know, it's like he's the biggest star, so he gets top billing, even though he's in the movie for like 25% of it.
Tie it into Elm Street, David. Very nice. That's why we scissor, Brendan. Brendan goes, I always assumed Arm and David are scissoring together during all these podcasts. I hate Talos. Oh, Josh Foster, that's brilliant. He's making fun of me here. He goes, I hate men. I hate men.
That's good.
We love you too, A. Smith. We love you too. At least all Mr. Robinsons waited until they were 18. There's an indication of some uncultured trials. I read that already. Griff this. So during this
hold on. I apologize. Since that's up, thank you everybody for the super chats. Keep them coming if you can. Thank you.
So the reason I put this with Hooper is said blank this is in this next Jump Street episode we're about to watch. And David, you want to sit in on this? You're more than welcome. Maybe we can have you and A. Smith at the same time, or anybody who wants to. So this is the racial tension thing, and he's in there. So Hansen is in class, and his lab partner is a black kid named Patrick Riley. And I haven't seen this. I'm just going off memory. I mean, I've seen it 1,000 times. I'm just going off. I need to watch it again. His lab partner is a guy named Patrick Riley, and he's a brilliant black student in this class. And it goes, he's accusing the teacher of giving him an A- because he's black. And so because they have a debate that heat is energy, and it's the same thing. And Patrick Riley says it's the same thing, and the teacher says it's not the same thing. So he knocked his grade down from an A+ to an A-. And Hansen says to him at one point, he goes, I'm not going to take an A-. And Hansen whispers to Patrick Riley, he goes, hey man, rub it in. He goes, hey, rub this, man. I'm not getting, he screams it out in class. And I don't know why it gets me every time. It's such a simpleton.
It's so aggressive and like
Yes.
0 to 60. That's why it's funny.
Maybe that is it. Rub this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because he's like an intellectual black science student, and he just goes right to that. Right. Just rub this. Whoa.
He's an intellectual black student who has like dumbass like Fox white guys writing for him.
That's a great question. Are there any black writers in the Jump Street staff? There's a couple of black directors. You know, Mario Van Peebles ends up directing a few episodes.
Oh, interesting.
Down the road. I think maybe 5. And I don't know if he was on the writer staff or not. But you remember anybody, you remember The White Shadow?
I know the title. I don't know.
It's a reverse kind of thing where there's a white coach and black, and a black team, and he's teaching them lessons of life. And so the point guard on that is Thorpe, and his name is Kevin Hooks. Okay. And he turns out he goes on to be like a really big director, and he directs several episodes of Jump Street, and he plays Thorpe on The White Shadow. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this is he directed Passenger 57. I remember that like immediately. That came to mind when a bunch of stuff. Just look him up. He's done a nice career after that. Yeah. And Mario Van Peebles goes on to direct New Jack City.
Oh,
yeah, one of my favorite movies from the
movie. I love it too. Everyone loves it. New Jack City. It was such a
great movie.
People still talk about. Chris Rock brought it up again on the Oscars a couple weeks ago. He plays Pookie on that.
One of the great debates of the early 90s is Boys in the Hood versus New Jack City. Which one's better?
Oh, well, they're different. They're way different movies. I mean, they're not.
No, that was a debate in my school at the time.
It's such a racist debate. They're so different. That's such a weird. I mean, I guess every white kid in their teens might do that. I probably would have done at some point. It's just out of ignorance, not out of racism. I have a theory that Depp was offered this. I don't know this for a fact. I'm guessing. This is just me trying to use my my sort of hypotheses. That Mario Van Peebles directs New Jack City. I have a theory that he offered Depp the lead role, and went to Judd Nelson instead.
Oh, that's right. Judd Nelson's in it.
I say this because it's the same premise as Jump Street,
right?
Except it's taking it to the streets in a bigger scale. They're undercover investigating drug dealers, who is Wesley Snipes. And it's the same. There's a lot of similarities to the Besieged storyline, but that's what that is. Ice-T and Judd Nelson are both undercover to crack down on drug dealers.
Right.
Thank you, Sue Monster, by the way.
Street. What's that, Sarah?
I just said thank you, Sue Monster.
Let me get down. I'm just going on these Depp riffs here. Thank you, Sue Monster. This is for John's Masty. She loves a good. I hate men. I think Sue Monster hates men as much or more than I do.
For $100, I will send anybody photos of Arms Bull Mastiff. Not that I have any.
It's
good save, Sarah.
It always goes to the show. Yes, I send dick pics to everybody I speak to.
Everybody you do a podcast with gets a photo.
In the holster right now.
As a thank you letter.
Email, just with like in the draft sense, so I could just pull it out and send it.
That's why McDowell started.
It's like that's Howard's thank you note.
Yes.
So true.
Y-Dot goes, Mario Van Peebles had a couple good ones in his day. He did. He has a nice, his son's acting looks exactly like him. He was on my favorite show. He's in the first season of one of my favorite shows, Mayor of Kingstown. And he played it's a great premise. He played a pretty boy prison guard who has to get moved. He sabotages his male prison corrections officer because it's just too crazy. And they move him to the female prison, and he has an affair with one of the female prisons, and she impregnates herself to get him killed. So as he's having sex with her, she stabs him in the neck with a pencil because she's in the crypts. And so they put a hit out on Mario Van Peebles' son, and it's a crazy. The whole thing's crazy, but this particular thing is crazy because I did not see it coming.
Didn't Mario Van Peebles play his father in a movie?
Yeah.
Badass?
Melvin Van Peebles is his father.
Right. Is the movie called Badass?
Yes. How
Okay.
you know that? I have no idea. I watched him on Bob Costas later promoting that.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know how I remember that. I'm down for any Jump Street, says A. Smith. All right, excellent. We'd like to have you in on this one.
Yep, I will email you.
I'm from Calgary, so basically I'm an American. Can I join? Yeah, Midlife Crisis. You want to join us? Definitely.
Oh, sorry. Anybody who is doing Jump Street with us next week, we are not recording Saturday. So I don't know when we're going to do it then. Anyway, okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we got to call an audible on that, right? You told me that. We'll figure it out. It doesn't even have to be next week, but I mean, we could move it to, just have something else.
Yeah.
But that's Brendan, right?
Maybe start the new one.
With any successful show, at a certain point, each actor's reps insist that their client's character have a significant role and subplot in each episode. Yeah, that's the stuff with the agents is fascinating. What goes on behind the scenes, the negotiations and the egos and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just going through the Tracy Jacobs transcript again to find shit on Gwyneth Paltrow and Depp and their history, which nobody knows. And I was thinking that too, that the weird shit that goes. She gets taught, and the director Mark Forster, who did Monsters Ball.
Oh, I know Monsters Ball. Yeah, but I don't know that director's name.
He directed Finding Neverland.
Oh, okay.
So Depp had a relationship with him, and she fucking eviscerates it. Tracy Jacobs does. She eviscerates him in this transcript. She's like, I'm not going to do another Mark Forster piece of shit movie. Jesus. And this got out there. This is how they make enemies in Hollywood. The stuff we don't know. You just don't hear that. She's really bizarre. Tracy Jacobs is so bizarre. Sarah, were you fascinated by her in terms of what she forgot in his career?
Do you mean in her testimony or
yes,
in the
testimony? The one we read. No, the transcript.
I have to be reminded. Maybe I'll post that testimony.
She would forget very basic info. Just like at one point they go, was Johnny signed to do 22 Jump Street? And she goes, I don't. Yeah, I think obviously it's a very famous cameo in the Jonah Hill Jump Street movie. She somehow doesn't remember it and then conflates it with 22 Jump Street, which is the sequel he was not in, because as far as we knew, he was killed in the first one. So she somehow doesn't know which one it is, and then doesn't know he was. It's so bizarre. Like the selective, and that's her fucking,
You get the gist when you watch her testimony that she doesn't want to be there and she wants to give nothing. Even if it's the simplest of answers that really affect nothing, she just purposely answers the way she does. So I don't believe she doesn't remember.
Yeah, I know. You gotta take it, and she's gonna say whatever.
She doesn't want to be involved in this topic anymore. And she wants him done. And that it's probably what's taken up most of her time the last 6 years is the topic of her former client, who she's not going to get any further money from. And she just wants to be done.
Who owes her back pay on various, the story that she made deals for him and then he fired her and then he went on to do the movies and then she didn't get her 10%.
Oh, wow.
From the movies.
Yeah.
5% or 10%?
I think it was 10. But she was another one that he refused to look at, I think.
Oh yeah, he never looked up.
Yeah.
The when we go through the unsealed documents, there's a lot more of Bruce Witkin in there, Sarah. I was skimming through it last night thinking I was going to incorporate it into today, and I decided not to. Just save it for another day. And he goes much further into stuff and the conversations he had with his sister, and it's way deep. You could tell when you watch the testimony in Fairfax how truncated it was. So it's a much more expansive. I mean, it's funny with the trial stuff, like the lawyers. It's Depp's team will brag about how they had stuff blocked from Fairfax, and on the other side of it, the son and / Amber Heard, who testified for him, had stuff blocked for and they'll blame the fact that they couldn't submit enough evidence, and that's why they lost. Each team, so Depp's team will say, "Oh, well, we would have won that if we were able to submit this," and then Amber Heard's team in Fairfax said, "Oh, we would have won if we were able to submit what we needed to submit."
Yeah,
Amber Heard herself said
Yeah.
that. That's a ready excuse lawyers will use, is that, I guess, if anybody plans on going into to be a lawyer, the excuse is we were not allowed to submit the evidence that would have won. So say that.
Well,
if
when
you
she
lose.
was on the stand, she said, "I submitted it. I don't know what my lawyers did with it." Way to go there, sweetie.
Way to pass the buck. Jesus.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, and I'm not making. I'm not even. The fact that those lawyers were foisted on her, and they're probably very good at what they do in other areas of legalese, but they have no business talking show business. They know nothing.
So
That was the problem. It never comes up now. It's such a basic thing. If you watch it, they know nothing about show business. And in order to, I would think the first thing you do is hire a show business-esque lawyer who knows the landscape, who pronounces things right.
Yeah.
That was so bad. Like from the monologue.
Talk to her insurance company who
I
hired
know.
them.
I know. But you would think, I'd be like, how do you not know how to pronounce Vasquez?
Vasquez.
Yeah.
Well, her insurance company was probably sick and tired of talking to her on the phone because the tood she gave them. So they're like, you know what? I know this Breedahoff gal in Virginia.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to get this bitch back.
Josh Foster, it's amazing how we're on the same page. I watched New Jack City like, I don't know, 5 years ago. Judd Nelson's scenes are so cringeworthy. LOL. He's so right.
Oh, I thought he was hot in that movie.
It does not hold up. He's right. Watch it again, Sarah. You're gonna be like,
I
oh
know.
my
I'm
God,
sure.
I like that. He himself is cringeworthy. Judd Nelson's. If you watch anything he does now, you go like, what were we thinking that was cool? I'm telling you,
He
it
got a
doesn't
lot
hold
of
up.
mileage out of his Breakfast Club character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who I was literally in love with.
John, everyone was.
It's a great character, yeah.
Especially David.
I
D,
wish all the bums in my school looked like him.
Yeah, totally.
He looked like the Lost McQuaid brother, Sarah, wasn't he? He was dressed like the McQuaid brother.
Yeah.
Arm, you're so right though. Like, Elaine should have never in her life been put in a situation where she had to read back quotes like "you fucking liked it" or whatever she had to say.
Yeah.
Like,
how do they not have the self-awareness or the optics or the to know that wasn't gonna? Don't they vet that? Don't they go how bad that looks and sounds?
It was like the last experience she ever had with Hollywood was she rented the Ice Follies of 38. And then that's what she knows of Hollywood.
This is why you and David are so great together.
I know.
Those references.
I wish I didn't know Joan Crawford movies, but I do.
Sarah, as this burgeoning, like, phenomenal filmmaker, would you consider making a new David opening? Because I know that it was the
I lost the first one, so
no,
sure.
well, that was the copyright stuff. So somehow that music was
we always got a strike when you played that.
Was dinged. Would you consider doing it using Mark Harris's music? Because you ain't getting copyrights.
You got to find something and send it to me, but I will.
We get a copyright strike from Vinny Favale,
Restless.
Using well, no, because he was like helping Mark with his music career at one point.
Oh, right. He was right.
Yeah.
Well, that was his ploy to get on the air. So he's like, if I can attach, it's like what Shuley did with Whack Packers. Vinny Favale decided, I'm going to attach myself to Mark Harris in the hopes that I'll get attention from Howard.
I think Vinny is the vanguard of all of Mark's archives, though. Like, I'm sure he still has everything that Mark ever gave him. So,
okay, mark this down, guys. We're 49 minutes 40 seconds,
and we haven't even started.
Vanguard. We got Talisman and Vanguard. Right. This is like, I would think Vanguard is in the Talisman family. It's so perfect. God damn it, Vanguard.
I don't even know if I used it correctly.
Probably, you definitely, come on, with that 180 IQ, you used it right. That was one of the like New Year's resolutions. I was going to use linear, granular, and Vanguard more in my vocabulary, and it just never happened. Just came and went like every other New Year's resolution. You heard it, Vanguard. Thank you, Diane D. Thank you for all your support. We love
Cindy,
you too.
if you missed
and
it.
Cindy Clausen,
right.
thank you. Two great broads.
Absolutely.
Broads. And I hate men. Who am I? O to B McDowell over here. That's a great reference. I believe he was the black center fielder for the Texas Rangers, right? Josh, he was like supposed to be like the next one of those prospects that they overrate. He was good, but he didn't live up to the hype they gave him. Judd Nelson was hot, says Diane D. Rupert Murdoch said, "I'm the face. I'm the innocent in the face of a judge." Yeah, Rupert Murdoch is. I always
He's
think
getting
of,
married.
He owes Depp
Oh,
everything he has.
8th time is a charm.
Right?
Yeah,
There's no
right,
Fox
at
Network.
He's
Oh,
getting
Diane
married
D.
at 93.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Sarah? This super couple, this lost celebrity super
Yes,
couple.
they did a movie together, and it didn't last long.
Shannon Doherty and Judd Nelson, Diane D reminds us. I vaguely remember that.
Yep.
How long did they date for?
I don't. It was long enough to do a movie together, and a TV movie, of course. And I think it petered out. It was a very passionate relationship, apparently, as you can imagine. I can.
They're both so like contrived, controversial.
I just picture her like in bed burning her man with a cigarette constantly.
Behind the ear.
Yeah.
I didn't read anything about any cigarette burns. That's from Jump Street season 3,
Jeez.
episode 1, when Greco
Jesus.
reveals.
So obscure.
Booker, I didn't read anything about any cigarette burns. That's when they're
Yeah.
at the bar together, and Depp has the flashbacks. And he's like, "Wait a minute, I think Booker did it. I think Booker raped her." I'm going to start here with. Let's see. How about an article? This is, if Judy Tanuna is in the chat. This is crazy. We're planning on doing a show about exactly this. And so there's a piece on Depp turning the role of Riddler down. Christopher Nolan, who did not do a Riddler, he did Dark Knight Rises, and he did Bane. He did a horrible Bane. He did a fucking Bane's supposed to sound like Xavier on Gunk. He's South American. He's got a very, very Latino lilt to his voice. He does not sound like fucking Sean Connery. Tom Hardy's a great actor. It was a horrible, horrible Bane. Just I know Bane backward. I know Bane better than Batman does, and it is so bad. It's such an overrated. Dark Knight Rises is horrible. I don't think it's just bad. It's horrible. They have pillow fights at the end of the movie. If you watch the act, there's this huge climax with the cops versus Bane's goons. They have pillow fights. They actually do. It's so bad. Christopher Nolan's the worst action director fight scenes I've ever seen in the history of cinema. By the way, he's got some strong points, but that ain't one of them.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp could have played a life-changing role in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Heath Ledger became the reason to decline it. So you know the whole thing. Depp went on to do this movie called The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Heath Ledger died, and the way they replaced him is they had Depp, Jude Law, and Colin Farrell triple duty to replace what Heath Ledger was supposed to film. The director is Terry Gilliam, who directed Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and Don Quixote, which that was a movie that never got finished.
Can I sidetrack you for a second? That photo of Depp there, I hate his hair, but the Professor, what was the other name of the movie, The Professor?
Oh, shit.
Somebody Says Goodbye. Richard Says Goodbye?
Richard says good. Yeah, Richard says
Okay, all right. Yeah, sorry.
You wanted to change it to Dick, I know.
No, Dick Says Hello.
Dick says hello. American actor Johnny Depp is one of Hollywood's most, American actor, and one of the most popular versatile actors. He has essayed some of the most memorable vanguards and talisman throughout his acting career. However, he has also missed out in the share of high-profile characters, especially superhero roles. Now, Judy Tanuna, this is what I bring this up all the time on here. We're going to do a whole show on the superhero genre and what Depp has been rumored to do, what he turned down, what didn't come to fruition. And it is insane, the list of names. It is everyone from Lex Luthor to Doctor Strange. Depp is well known for the iconic character Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. His other notable films include Edward Scissorhands, Sleepy Hollow, Charlie and Chocolate Factory, and many more. But many don't know he was close to becoming a supervillain in DC Comics, according to a Newsbreak report. Christopher Nolan, by the way, I should say that Wally Pfister over here? Wally Pfister was Christopher Nolan's second-hand man in all the Nolan movies. He directed, Pfister did, Transcendence, which is a Depp movie. So there's a tie-in there. If you watch Transcendence, it has all the Christopher Nolan staple actors you see in every Christopher Nolan movie.
Right.
You know how Tim Burton casts the same people over and over again?
Yeah.
Nolan's probably worse. He uses the same 5-6 actors for every, like Cillian Murphy. He's in everything. He played Scarecrow in the first Batman Begins. Cillian Murphy's a good actor, but he has no business playing Jonathan Crane, who's this professor. He's like 22 and he's a college. Looked so stupid. It was such a bad. Again, good actor. He has no business playing fucking Jonathan Crane in that movie. Just took me completely out of it. Approached Johnny Depp in the take of renowned comic villain The Riddler role in Dark Knight's sequel, which never happened. It actually went to the thing with the Robert Pattinson Batman, the Batman. There's a half-baked Riddler in that. Even though the actor rejected these rumors, he admitted that the late Heath Ledger's brilliant and award-winning performance as the Joker in Dark Knight intimidated him. Christopher Nolan went on to direct Dark Knight Rises, which included Talia Ghul, Catwoman, and Bane as adversaries. Moreover, Johnny discovered that Val Kilmer ultimately won the role of Batman in Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever, which initially was intended for him. The report claimed that Schumacher had rejected the Golden Globe award-winning actor to cast him in the role. Depp has also said he was drawn to Prince Namor, the anti-hero who first appeared in Wakanda Forever. The Taurus. I love how they write these. They write the Taurus star. They choose you know what I mean? Like the Golden Globe award-winning actor.
The Cable Ace winning.
Yes. They chose the tourist here. The Taurus.
By the way,
star.
Sorry, they misspelled night in Dark Knight. They spelled it. Yeah,
there's a lot of spelling errors in this. They spell deep. They say deep instead of Depp over and over again in this.
That's the poor name I gave him, Johnny Depp.
I'm gonna rewrite this first thing. The private resort star reportedly wanted to play Namor because he loved the Submariner. This is true. I read this article back when this came. Submariner Comics, also the character's other name. According to some reports, Depp was a contender to play the character of Doctor Strange. Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel, shot down the rumors, claiming that the superhero genre did not require an actor of Depp's caliber. It would be fascinating to watch Depp's eccentric style come to the forefront as he agreed to play these roles. I agree. So the Feige thing, Kevin Feige's thing is, I think he likes to act like Marvel. Nobody would ever turn Marvel down. They'll turn you down. Right. So in the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like Ed Norton played Bruce Banner in the beginning, and he's somewhat on Depp's caliber in terms of like the names you hear. And I'm not saying he's remotely as big, but he's a leading man. So don't give me that shit that you're not hiring big names. Now you have Angelina Jolie and it's over and over again. So they're bringing in they have Bradley Cooper playing Rocket Raccoon. He's 10 lines in the whole movie. Like that's the Vin Diesel playing Groot, which is something that Camilla could play, Sarah. Vin Diesel. You need him to go. Groot. What?
She can play anything, but go ahead.
That's right. That's a chameleon cat. That is a very chameleon cat you have.
I also love the sort of non-committal quality of claiming that the superhero genre did not require an actor of Depp's caliber. It's like, are you saying he's bad or are you saying he's too good? Like,
I think they're saying he's too big.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily good but that's another, if he does mean skill, you're saying that you're actually denigrating your own work because we're supposed to think that, these are as good as anybody else. And the movie of Benedict Cumberbatch is a hack playing Doctor Strange, and it doesn't take much to play him, which is not true at all. So I think he means
it's a weird
fame.
Nebulous. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
No, you're right. I don't know what I'm going to say. It means fame. The Prince Namor, the Submariner, is interesting because Prince Namor is essentially the Aquaman of Marvel. Like there's a debate like which one came out first. I've heard things like Namor was published first, but the idea of Aquaman came out first, but Marvel got credit. So it's like who stole from who.
the patent on Aquaman was already out. Like,
But how weird is it though? So that comes up, and he wanted to throw his name in. So Marvel couldn't get around to doing Namor in the early days. Like this is like the first phase of Marvel, and Amber Heard goes on to play Mira, who is Namorita. Namor's fucking wife is named Namorita. So the parallels is Aquaman and Mira are Namor and Namorita. And she goes on to play fucking Mira. There's got to be a bitterness in Depp thinking, oh, wait a minute. I wanted to play Namor. Now fucking she's playing
right.
Aquaman's wife. She doesn't deserve trying to sabotage that. I mean, he got her the role, but he was also like trying to go like, this. I don't want to deal with this.
He knew by getting her the role, she would sabotage it herself.
I think he does know that. I think eventually he did start to think, oh, she'll sabotage it. And speaking of sabotage, so that's a cute story. And again, this points to, we're going to expansively go over that. We're going to do a show where it's just totally, comic book based about all the roles. And it's so much. People aren't going to believe, I mean, from Bruce Banner to the original days of James Cameron's Spider-Man. David, did you supervise the Brooklyn Bridge construction? David has been around since Moses wore short pants. He means Moses Malone, David, not Moses.
Not the biblical figure.
They're having such great fun at the expense of your precocious.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I would have loved to see, because I want to like this movie, but I don't like it. Is The Rocketeer? I would have loved to see
Oh
Johnny Depp
God,
The Rocketeer.
That's Billy Crudup, right?
I think so.
And then we have him with Jennifer Connelly, Paul Bettany's wife.
Yeah.
The Rocketeer is directed by. It's funny you bring that up. Directed by the director of Captain America: First Avenger.
Really?
Yeah, okay. Joe Johnston, who directed Indiana Jones. I think the one with River Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre. I just they figured we're gonna make Captain America: First Avenger because it's kind of like it's a period piece, and we're gonna make it. They chose Joe Johnston because the Rocketeer had the same flavor as what they wanted to do. I can't believe you said that. That's great.
It's a movie I saw a long time ago, and I remember liking it as a kid, but then I saw it a second time as like a teenager, and it was kind of boring to me. And I was like, oh, but there's something there about it that if the casting was if something was different about it, I would like it more.
It's a Disney movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's considered Disney, right? That was when Disney was just like didn't kind of know what they were. Now they're in bed with Marvel and stuff, and you can it's kind of a superhero-esque movie. But
well, I think it was part of Disney's, like they created like Touchstone Pictures as a way to release films for adults. So I think it's through Touchstone, but it's under the Disney banner. And I oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was Zepp says arms. Thank you, Zepp, and thank you, Zepp and A. Smith. Yeah, I mean,
Arm was soaking his compliment in.
No, I was just.
He needed a moment.
This is what we do. I mean, this is what we do here. This is my bailiwick. I don't know much about guns, you Homo sapiens, and your guns, but I do know this. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't know this. Is there anything worse than the podcast where the guy just I'm just gonna dilly-dally. I got no interest in anything. It's just give me money and I'm gonna talk about myself. I mean, comedians do this, right? Promoting myself. I have no point of interest or reference. I'm not really specially interested in anything. Howard's show is really like this, isn't it? It's a show about nothing, just some billionaire dilly-dallying and going nowhere, teaching you nothing, learning nothing, not making you laugh, and all we do is listen to that show with a fucking dog whistle, looking for trying to.
And when we mention Dick Van Patten, it's funny. He doesn't do it funny,
right? and I truly don't believe he knows who he is.
Right.
I truly believe he doesn't know who he is. Remember how? Yes, Josh Foster. I do remember how Moses Malone gives him, because I in real life. I got benched for doing that. I was on a fast break, and I stopped and deliberately missed and tipped it 4 times. and on the 4th rebound, I brought it in and I missed and got fouled. And then I ended up missing 2 free throws and I screwed up the 2 points and got benched. And I
Rightfully
think I would have
so.
gotten benched. Well, we ended up winning by we ended up winning by like 20 something, so it wasn't gonna. But it just makes the coach look bad. Like this guy is he's so unhinged. He has no discipline at all. I'm gonna let my players stop in a fast break and miss on purpose, and just to get the pad his own rebound stats. My field goal
That's why you defend LeBron when I talk shit about LeBron, because you were like the OG stat patter.
You know, well, Russell Westbrook. That's my contemporary hero. Here's my deal with this. There's only one championship that team can win. You can go years and years, and it's about the journey. It's about what goes on the way to that. I don't care about the deck that has been stacked against so many other, the Celtics and the Lakers and blah, 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 had so many advantages that I just learned to not give a shit about championships. And who am I, the Mandarin over here? Who am I, Liberace? I'm counting rings. I know how stupid it is. Only one team, and this ring thing. Would you rather have Carmelo and John Stockton's career, or would you rather have John Sally and Derek Fisher's career?
Well, John Sally gets to host the Basketball Wives reunion, so I would say
Okay,
John
all right,
Sally.
good answer. Good answer for a broad. So this whole championship shit is, I think it's the stupidest. It's how a simpleton thinks, counting rings. I'm there for the journey. I like the game within the game. I like the individual performances. I like watching the talent. I'm not there to. I don't get a cut of the championship. I don't. If my team wins, I'm a Trailblazer fan. If they win, that's great. Fine, I'll be happy.
Someday.
But if you're watching sports for the climax and all you care about, don't watch, because you're not a real fan. You're not interested in the journey, and you're not interested in what goes on to get to that. You're a simpleton. You're an absolute humanoid if all you care about is rings and championships. It's stupid. It's the journey's far more interesting than the conclusion. Far more. And that's I'll never go off of that. I'll never go off, and that's why I love stats so much, because that's my solace. I don't care. I would rather have you heard here. I would rather have a 20-20-20 than win an NBA title. I know I did it. I know I left it out there. I did everything in my power, and if I lose, that's fine. I did everything I could possibly do. I'm fine with the game losing. I could give a shit as long as I get my stats. You heard it here.
You're criticizing the same people that go right to the money shot when they watch porn.
Yes,
yeah.
David, that is a brilliant analogy. Yes, don't watch the journey. Don't watch the fluffing
journey.
Arm
needs a little romance.
I need a little romance.
No, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, for arm.
Yes, Josh agrees. That is an amazing analogy, David. Who am I? Maurice Cheeks over here. Who am I? Clement Johnson over here. By the way, Josh, you had a Vern Fleming reference. Was it last week? And we went off. It was during Radio Gunk, and I'm like, did he just make it? I'm like, who am I? Steve Stepanovich over here. Vern Fleming, the very mediocre point guard for the Indiana Pacers in the 80s. He doesn't get more mediocre than Vern Fleming or Steve Stepanovich, I might add.
Caldwell Jones.
Caldwell Jones.
That's my only reference.
This next thing, I want to go back, because this comes up. We talked about the trial before, and hell hath no fury as a woman scorned. I keep going back to this over and over again, that Amber Heard went into hyperdrive because of a woman named Rochelle Hathaway, who is a Depp's side piece. She has been probably his F buddy since as far back as a decade ago. And I think it's going on during Vanessa. She somehow skated about every time her name potentially came up during the trial, Camille Vasquez would object and they wouldn't go into it. She was his side piece. So Amber Heard found
what's the most important part? She's tanned and traveled.
She's tanned and traveled on Instagram. So if you're wondering what caused this whole kerfuffle, Rochelle Hathaway did. And it takes two to tango, and I don't blame her, because Depp is a willing participant in all this. Did he cheat with her? Absolutely. Did he cheat on with Vanessa with her? Probably. And I'm going to say, so I went.
Can I add? I would
Yeah.
also add the decaying psychosis of one Amber Heard added to this, but you carry on. Let's get to the tangent traveled.
So I'd say once a week, at least, maybe twice a week, I'm poking around looking for more stuff on Rochelle Hathaway. She was not underage, Kala. She was not. The funny thing about her is, as far as we know, her age is impossible to find. It's one of the ongoing things. She could be 35. She could be 28. So if he was with her, she was barely legal. But again, her age is just as impossible. She's so effing mysterious. And I don't mean that in a good way. She just managed to stay out of this somehow. And she's on Instagram and nobody called her out. And again, it takes two to tango. So this is kind of what I found. So this somebody does a kind of timeline with Amber Heard and Depp. Now forget that. We're focused on Rochelle Hathaway here. So in Hollywood, they have this thing called the TARAN shooting range. And what that is, where's Simi Valley, David, compared to LA?
It's one. I'm 10 minutes from Simi Valley as I sit here. So it's very close. It's one county over. It's Ventura County, but it's one county over.
They got a Mr. Tux right there in Ventura Boulevard.
It's like, but it's basically I'm sorry to interrupt. It's like Northwest LA, basically.
Oh, thank you very much. So it's 10 minutes northwest of Los Angeles, La Hongalo. And so there is a Hollywood shooting range where the stars go to the shooting range to look authentic, to train at a shooting range, and they shoot guns there, and they have instructors teaching them how to shoot and how to look authentic shooting. So Depp has gone there, and you'll see Michelle Rodriguez. I have a video of Michelle Rodriguez. It's just phenomenal, and then you get to see who's in this video as well. So Depp is in there. So now I find this blog, and this thing called the TARAN Butler is known as Hollywood celebrities weapons trainer. He has photos with Keanu Reeves, Rihanna, amongst others. Michelle Rodriguez also uses facilities. It is also known that Rochelle Hathaway, who is a fan of Depp, see the attached video, quite possibly not Johnny's only visit to this shooting range, as Johnny has been able to look realistic when he uses or even holds weapons in films. And many of his films have been historical. Let me scroll down
looks
here.
Good there.
As do you. So that's Transcendence. That's the poster.
That's fine. Then I'm going to watch Transcendence. Does he look like that throughout the whole movie?
It's the very definition of mailing it in a movie. He literally does the movie from Zoom.
I know.
I think he made $25 million for this, and I'm not even talking about that.
Christ.
It made not a lot of money at all. It lost money, in fact, and that's the Wally Pfister movie. No one's secondhand. That's the poster. He basically does the movie for. I think it took him 3 weeks to shoot this.
Nice work if you can get it.
It is, I know, but that's anyway. He's the lead in it, and I honestly, it's all from Zoom, and it's one of his laziest performances ever. Paul Bettany's in it, all his buddies are in it, and it's Paul Bettany, his friends, and Morgan Freeman's actually in it, and Christopher Nolan's acting. So this is Depp,
and Jim Morrison in 1970.
Go ahead, David. You're about to say?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sure Morgan Freeman was using that as a pension movie too, and did no heavy lifting whatsoever.
I bet you Morgan Freeman took 3 weeks to shoot his scenes. He's playing himself. He's playing. They call it the magical Negro. You ever hear that term?
Yes, right.
It's the all-wise black guy. He's the kind of the poster child for the magical Negro.
Right.
And so this is Depp at the TARAN shooting range. Okay. Here he is again, and here he is again. This is probably a decade ago.
Oh.
Can you identify this gun? You gun nuts?
It's an automatic something. I don't know.
Homo sapiens and your guns. So when I go to the shooting range, usually I wear 10 scarves and trinkets and necklace and Greg Brady's taboo.
That sounds so safe, to wear that many
really
scarves.
Safe. They're not going to tell them no. So this is
It's a little sexy. I'm not going to lie.
No,
okay,
I mean,
fine.
if I was him, I would be concerned for my safety if, something gets tangled in a
You would isn't
trigger.
the first order of business at these safety, right?
That's true, yeah.
We're gonna have an Alec Baldwin at the Taran shooting range itself.
Right.
Like, isn't that the first order of business? Safety, right? They can't even tell him that.
Depp's not even wearing like earplugs or anything. He could be deafened by the sound.
The hair is covering the ears. He's fine.
Right. Yeah, it's thick enough, right?
Can you maybe his earrings double as earplugs? It just like morphs into it. He just shoves it in his
They're like
Okay, go.
They're like pacifiers that he can just like put into his eardrums. Like
it is a good point about the beaded necklaces, like tying a nice little bow around the trigger and just like he kills everybody.
Look at it. It looks like it's tangled. So this is that guy Taran shooting next to him on his left, our right. Doesn't he look like Jim Florentine a little bit here with the amber vision on?
I thought he looked like the guy from Stranger Things, the cop.
Oh, David. Yeah, he was in. He's actually in Black Mass. Okay, here he is, and see, here's I guess an employee there, or just maybe it's a fan he's posing.
Probably
he's generously posing with. Genuine picture. Deppso is good for posing with fans, and that's great. What we love about him.
She's wearing an Alice in Wonderland shirt too.
Oh, is she? Oh shit. We're in a. I didn't even notice that. We're all
mad here.
Okay. Damn, it's a Mad Hatter. Jesus Christ.
I wonder if that's his line in the movie or something.
My hand would be lower though.
Boy, you talk about the second Alice in Wonderland. Boy, that's gotta be, that might be the biggest financial hit he's ever taken as a star of a movie. Boy, did that bomb. That was at the height of, that's when all the TMZ stuff had hit, and negativity about him was probably at its all-time high. That came out right around that, and it was.
Well, also, I mean, even if he was in good standing culturally, like, who was looking for a sequel to that movie? Like
the first
I don't
one
think they
did really
needed to
well.
make the first one. I can't stand Alice in Wonderland.
They took too long to make the sequel. It was many years in between. It was like it would take a long time.
They expect it's going to be like an Avatar thing where it's fine if it's a decade. It'll be successful.
God, it's so weird, right? When they do the sequel, like years and years. Aquaman's going on. It'll be 6 years when that comes out.
Wow.
The sequel, and they, we know the entanglements. So here it's called the AR-15 from Taran Tactical Innovations. David, if you ever get a chance and you're out there, swing by and tell what's going on out there.
Yeah, I'll add that to the Depp Tour list, which is that's going to be a 45-minute video for Patreon, by the way. So.
PC, did you see PCBPO23's? He says it's an M4.
It's an M. Wow, Taran. I love a gun debate with Taran.
Civilian AR-15.
Okay. Ed Rooney, the first rule of gun safety is to have fun. Kathy Scott, welcome, Kat. She said that looks like an AK. I love Kathy Scott's guns. I love her gun knowledge.
Guns a-blazing.
Guns a-blazing. Yeah, PCBPO23. I love saying that. M4, the civilians or the humanoids call it the AR-15. That's so funny.
Civilian AR-15.
The humanoids.
By the way, Ed Rooney, I love the name and the comment. Nice job.
Yes. Dorian Morgan says, and welcome, sir. Yeah, Kathy Scott agrees with you, by the way, Sarah, that he looks good in that. Simi Valley was where all the cops used to live. I didn't know that. Is that true? Is it cop land over there?
I used to teach a cello student over there whose dad was a cop. E.T. was filmed in Simi Valley, so just any Spielberg 80s movie that looks like it's shot like Poltergeist or any of those that looks like just any suburb USA, that's typically Simi Valley.
So, Kyle, to answer your question about Rochelle Hathaway, she's born in 1987 or 88 or 1995, depending on the situation. So whatever she needs to be one of those ages, she will
95,
use that.
She was born?
Yeah, I've seen her age go as low as 27. The last time I looked, I tried to find out. Then the first time I looked, she was 33. Then it was 27, and then it was. But all we know is you're not officially going to find out. She's clearly trying to keep that a secret.
She blurs in there somewhere. Yeah.
You want to see like we should do like a contest where people, because I was bragging about finding out Reggie Dorsey's age finally,
Right.
because it took me like 30 years to look for it. Waxer Thompson, the villain in Jump Street, the first episode, he plays a 17-year-old drug dealer, and he's actually when Jump Street was filmed, he's born in 1959. I found out, so he's 28 during this episode, and he has his age hidden. So I was able to deduce when he admitted he did a movie, and he said I was only 13 when I did they had me as an extra in a movie, and I was, oh, okay, so that's the year it came out, and I did the subtraction and realized it was 59, 60. So that's why he doesn't want you to know how old he is. So there's an ongoing thing with Jump Street actors that when you look for, you can't find out the age of so many of these people, and I think that's their thing, is to like perpetually look young. So to try to look young and not reveal your age, so you don't get cast, you won't if they know your age. And over and over again, every episode they look at.
I also wonder if the internet just doesn't care about how
I'm the only one that cares.
No,
but I'm talking about the IMDb. Like they're all on IMDb.
Right,
And like you think the first thing they would have is their age and their biography, but they deliberately hide it. There's just no question.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
I just say that because it's an official. They're all registered on IMDb, like in the Screen Actors Guild. So there's no question that they're like, hey, if you want to keep getting, if you want to keep playing, teenagers or 28-year-olds, you better not reveal your age. They do that. They do that.
Patrick, what was the Jump Street rewatch? No. The Jump Street rewatch with the actor who was the baseball playing prodigy. What's that actor's name?
Johnny Hartman and the.
No. He was the son of a mob guy.
Yeah, Johnny Hartman in the. Episode.
That's the character's
name.
Low
and Away. Yeah, that's the character.
Right. And that actor was like 28 at the time.
He was 28. Yes, in that. That's a perfect example.
It's so funny.
And that'll just keep coming out. I think our next episode. Yeah, I was telling Sarah this. It's called "Don't Stretch the Rainbow." So it's the racial tension at this Lincoln High School. The lead white guy, the racist white guy in this high school is now, last I checked, and this is the oldest actor playing a teenager in the history of this show and possibly of all time. I think the last I looked, this guy was 38 years old during this episode.
Oh my God.
And when you see him, you're going to know immediately this guy's, you're going to be like, what the fuck? Really? This guy's a high school student. His name is Boyd in the episode.
So he was actually taunting the Little Rock Nine as they were trying to integrate into a school.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. That show is so ahead of its time. So when you see this guy, I think to me he's the oldest actor in the history of this show trying to play a high school student. His name is Boyd. That's his character's name on the show. I can't remember the actor's name. I got to look it up again. Very
followed
forgettable.
Closely in second by Gabrielle Carteris.
Well, when we do this 90210 things, we can't shut up about her and the age. It's like you can't stop. You just can't possibly.
All right,
so back to Rochelle Hathaway. Okay, so where am I? Okay, shit. What do I do with it? Oh, here we go. Okay, so scroll down. And this is Depp. So Depp's with this guy here, Taran Butler, and they're firing AR-15s. And it's so funny how some of these obscure Instagrams where you're getting like very cool celebrity information, but nobody knows these Instagrams exist. They're just sort of buried, like nobody cares to look at it. So scroll down, and here's Michelle Rodriguez, Gat Girl's crush, getting demonstrated by gun instructor one Rochelle Hathaway.
Ready, stand
Watch
by.
Perfect, Miss Hathaway. Awesome.
6 seconds.
6 seconds flat?
No, 6-8.
What?
Oh,
Sounds
God.
better, doesn't it?
That's cheating. I will not allow cheating. No cheating allowed.
It's not cheating.
What was your actual time?
Just exaggeration of the truth a little bit.
You're in big trouble, Miss Hathaway.
Classic Rochelle, right, guys?
Miss Hathaway from the Beverly Hillbillies? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, Jane.
That's quite a shot she is. How deft is she with that right. That's crazy. She knows that's no joke. What you just saw there.
Oh, when you have nothing else to do all day.
So she's a yoga instructor. She is a gun instructor. She's a gun model, gun instructor. She is a private jet flight attendant. She is a cocktail waitress, which is what we're about to watch after this. And did you hear that? I don't know if you caught this. She goes, Miss Hathaway, 6.8 seconds. She goes, she goes, that's how long Johnny lasted in the sack. He doesn't need Cialis with me, Amber. This is
Lord.
So we're to assume, I'm going to just guess, this is how they met. Because I have been going through all these scenarios. We've heard yoga instructor, private jet flight attendant. Depp has been flying private for quite a few years, and they could have been on that. And maybe that's how they got started. But there is no question that's how this got started.
Can I give my theory on her?
Sure.
Okay. There is in the audio, Amber Heard says something about, are you going to pay her yoga bill?
She did say that.
Yes, she does.
Yep.
I suspect Depp funded her yoga career as an instructor. Whatever you have to do to get certified or start up a business, whatever, hang a sign somewhere.
Good theory.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I agree with that. It's so crazy, and you can't track her. Let's watch this again. Very impressive. Now that you know what you're looking at, let's watch really quick. Watch it again. So this is Michelle Rodriguez taking gun lessons for Fast and the Furious, for Christ's sake, from Rochelle Hathaway.
Shooter ready. Stand by.
Why is she nervous?
Perfect, Miss Hathaway. Awesome.
6 seconds.
6 seconds flat?
No, 6.8.
What? It's your fault.
6 sounds better, doesn't it?
That's cheating. I will not allow cheating. No cheating allowed.
It's not cheating.
What was your actual time?
Just exaggeration of the truth a little bit.
You're in big trouble, Miss Hathaway.
Ah,
I would last 2 seconds in these conversations. Before I just left.
She has a chesty laugh.
Yes.
I'm sure Depp found that charming. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, that's so funny you say that, because I was about to say, her speaking voice is about as elusive as Jeffrey Epstein's. I cannot find. You get the laugh, you see her stuff. I cannot find speaking, and even on Instagram, you cannot find her speaking. It's somehow she avoids completing a sentence. I don't know how she does it, but it's
like Kate Moss.
Like Kate Moss. Even Kate Moss speaks a little more than you.
Yeah,
but avoid it. You're absolutely right. There's so many times. Kate Moss was someone that I hadn't heard speak for years and years and years. And really, at the trial was the first time I ever heard her expanse. The only other time was when Stuttering John got her at on the red carpet. And then
you see her in interviews, and then you realize why she doesn't speak.
Yeah, you do.
Most boring.
There was a rainstorm. I slid. It carried me to the bed.
So, poking around a little more, I find. So I see, reading another article I read, says that she had a role or a cameo appearance in something called Bling Ring, and Sarah said that's based on a true story. As we did earlier when we were talking about this, and this Bling Ring. So I scanned through the whole movie, and I found her cameo finally. The movie's an hour, directed by Sofia Coppola. Her cousin Mark, Nicolas Cage's brother, is in the movie, and you got to see this too. So this is Rochelle Hathaway in Bling Ring, playing what I believe. I have a theory that she was actually a cocktail waitress, and they cast her because it was easy, and she was there anyway. The lead singer of Bush, Sarah, Gavin Rossdale.
Mm-hmm.
This is Howard level Larry Sanders acting when you see this. This is Ed Wood level acting, right?
What was
Could have been an Ed Wood movie.
What was Gwen thinking leaving him?
Was that Emma Watson?
Yes, she's the star of this.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And he never steps out of the styling bubble, does he?
No.
It's always this.
who's Gwen Stefani's husband now? The country singer
Blake Shelton. Or
Okay,
something?
okay.
Yeah.
Bill Maher used that as the example of the right and the left getting along. Like that's the pinnacle of like, can the right and the left ever agree on anything? That couple, if they can make it, anybody can. Because he's like, country
Yeah.
bumpkin, red state, right, and she's Hollywood left.
Some executive producer from Entourage. It's gonna be a real party.
Let me jump ahead to Amber, Rochelle. Sorry. So this
Oh
is
God, I had a Hills flashback.
this is the manager. So this is he's. Okay. By the way, Sarah, before I get to this,
Let's just say that drug use is wrong. I don't know why you included this. And please do not do drugs. Thank you.
and I own all Coppola movies, including The Godfather and everything Sofia Coppola's ever done, and
I thought you were gonna
and
say-
Francis Ford's Wine Company. I own that too.
I thought you were going to say I own all drug cartels. They all
Yes,
belong to
that's
me.
it. I own all drug cartels. I was thinking, Sarah, too, when I was watching this. I was like, do you think 90210? Yeah, drugs are bad. Do you think 90210 would have been better if they went down this direction of like fast lane Hollywood kids more so than the toned down, watered down version that it is? If they just went crazy, like if it were on like Netflix or
Cinemax.
Amazon, Skinemax, do you think it would be like? Do you think that would be a better show if they just went down completely fast lane, fast track Hollywood kids doing this all the time?
Of course.
Yeah, I think
They
they should.
would.
They should.
The closest they
amplify it.
get to this is in season 6. Kelly goes off camera and snorts a line, and then lifts her head back up into the shot. That's the closest they get
Yep.
to this. But yes, these drugs here in this scene are obviously fake. Again, please do not do drugs. YouTube, thank you.
Kylo Sierra Alpha, and welcome, sir. TARAN Tactical. That guy runs the place. Doesn't he look like a creep? He's going to get a Me Too really soon. Kylo is right. That's coming. There's going to be a crazy fucking sexual harassment thing coming. They're all like model chicks, and she was a gun. She was a model. She was a gun model for a magazine, which I think that guy had something to do with. Rochelle Hathaway, I mean.
Simi Valley is a weird place too. It's kind of like the boonies, but in the 70s, whenever they would need, like, Little House on the Prairie is filmed there because it's kind of desert like.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, there's like ranches there where all these kind of, historical shows like Little House on the Prairie would be filmed. But to live there, it's kind of the boonies. It's kind of creepy.
Was the Merlin Olsen character, David, were you his apprentice in The Blacksmith at the time?
I delivered him. I was his midwife.
You delivered him, okay. I forgot Merlin Olsen was in that.
Hey, do me a favor, Mr. On.
Yeah.
Get past the shot.
Get past the shot?
Yeah, because
YouTube
has a problem with this. Oh, no, please fast forward.
This is when I buffered. Remember that? Playing in the back. So I'm watching this piece of shit for like what seemed like an hour. The movie's an hour and a half, and I'm skimming through it. As soon as I get there, it's perfectly seamlessly streaming. It starts to buffer. It's almost like she had to sabotage where it would buffer when her scene came up.
Okay.
Do you remember when Paris Hilton was like sort of on everyone's collective, in like 04, 05, it was a big Paris Hilton year.
Yeah.
And she was synonymous with bottle service. There was something, remember Howard kept obsessing over Paris Hilton, and her tagline was bottle. I think she came out with a fucking song, and like bottle service was like the tagline in it. And so that became, she popularized bottle service to the pedestrians like us. That's the first time I'd heard.
Isn't that in the Steve Grillo Tracy Millman fight too? Isn't that part of their?
Well, top shelf liquor was what they said over and over again. I don't know if bottle service came up during that.
It might have.
Could have been.
Right.
Could have.
That's right.
And so that's and as Ed would say, and action.
That's reminiscent of the Beth scene where she's a waitress or something, and she's under the table and
gives a blowjob
under
the table.
Yeah. First and last time.
It would be funny if YouTube had a problem with like sparklers attached to bottles of alcohol too. Like we had to, that is wrong.
You kid, David? I bet you that's coming. They are that petty where that's the direction that it's going.
God.
YouTube needs to be humbled. It needs major competition. It needs to be taught. There's other pastures to escape to, but everybody's coming because this is where you put asses in the seats.
That's what
Daily
some say,
Motion.
though. But we love YouTube.
We do love you.
Our benevolent YouTube.
Yes. Do you see this on my you see Twitter coming up here?
Yeah.
Okay, this what you didn't hear during the Fairfax trial. This is what was in the UK. This is the extent of the Rochelle Hathaway dialogue in the trial in the UK. So they shot it down, like Camille Vasquez and Ben Chu and everybody else had shot down any Rochelle Hathaway. Every time Amber Heard brought her up or Whitney, they would shoot it down. They would no pun intended. They would do a TARAN tactical on every time Rochelle, because it makes them look bad. It makes them look like a cheater and this weird, side piece, like an F buddy that's going on all through Vanessa. It doesn't make them look good to the jurors. So they kept shooting it down, regardless of what. So this is from the UK. So I'm going to try to. So he goes, Justice Nicol, this is from the UK. Goes, as Charlie's on his way, second text down. You write, I'm upstairs with Rochelle. Are you coming? And the judge says yes. And Mrs. Wass, who's the lawyer for the son in the UK, which is / Amber Heard, technically. Oh, not she was the star witness, but she wasn't.
Yeah.
Tell us about this. So Charlie, you saying Charlie done it? Rochelle Hathaway, is that? I think that's his girlfriend. Is that right? And this is Depp. He says, well, no, she's a girl I had dated, and I was seeing her, before. I think I started seeing Miss Heard then on a regular basis, because this is what 2012, and at the end of 2012, I think there might have been a bit of an I love this. I think there might have been like a bit of an overlap there. Do you not? She goes, Depp feigning like he doesn't know. Possibly, yeah. I mean, yeah, possibly. So let me get this straight.
Acting training.
This is what you didn't hear in Fairfax. So let me get this straight. You were seeing Rochelle while seeing Miss Heard at the same time, and you're asking, according to the timing of this, at just before 9 o'clock in the morning, telling someone in a text that you were upstairs with Rochelle, and you were hoping for what, Charlie, or are you expecting Charlie to be on his way? Charlie is indeed Charlie done it? Well, it would have been this is 2012. She was she's a friend. Yes, she goes, she was a friend. She was somebody you had stayed in contact with, I guess, after you had started seeing Miss Heard. He goes, well, yeah, yeah, here and there, yeah. But I ended up having to I had to stop seeing her because well, when exactly did you stop seeing her? Well, when things had gotten serious and more serious than Miss Heard, and Miss Heard had become very jealous of Rochelle. So let me get this straight: you were seeing Rochelle during the course of your marriage, were you not? Even after your marriage in 2015, you were seeing Rochelle, right? Well, Rochelle and I had kind of stayed in contact, and so after Miss Heard and I broke up, I did see Rochelle. No. Before, we're gonna take a look at this tomorrow. Before the before the breakup, I meant. So there were regular meetings you had with this Rochelle before you were married, and you were married immediately after you were married to Miss Heard, Miss Watson. So it goes on, and saying Clive Barker. Yeah, that's the extent of the UK. I mean,
if you want the unedited and unblanked out versions, they're in our UK testimony episodes.
Yeah, very underrated, kind of buried in the, you got to go back, and I could probably identify it.
And if you need something to get through your day, some of those episodes are like 7 hours long.
Yeah, it's a good read to just kind of like fall asleep to. No, seriously, because that is. I fell asleep work into those. Gwyneth Paltrow trial.
I love those.
It's a great thing to have on in the background. And so I just wanted to point. Go ahead, Debbie. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love those episodes, specifically because they have my favorite thing you guys ever did: the Discord riddles that he read at one time.
That's the Depp Does Discord.
Yeah,
right. Okay, yeah.
Doesn't have a lot of views, that episode, for some reason.
Well, we're just establishing ourselves in the beginning. Laura Marie goes, the actual story of Bling Ring is actually fascinating. The movie, however, was terrible. Lauren's such a cinephile. She sees everything. She saw this too. Lauren, was that showed in the theater? No way.
No, it
no
just
way
means
that.
Lorne has a life, unlike myself.
I just wondered if it was ever in the theater.
Yeah, it was in the theater.
I mean,
Lingren
if Emma
was?
Watson's
Yes.
in it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes, it was in the
Well,
theater.
I've
I
seen
remember
bigger
it being in the
movies.
theater.
Okay, I don't. I scan
You
it
were
every
busy in the
week.
shower thinking of Jump Street plot lines.
Are you telling me a movie like that came out in Oregon but didn't come out
Yes,
in New York?
that was like a week after we got electricity.
Jesus, I couldn't believe you knew what calamari was.
Oh Jesus
Remember we were
Christ!
talking
This is
earlier.
an
one of the
ocean.
Deppenings-
This is an ocean-centric state. Our number one food is seafood. Yes, I know what calamari is.
I didn't think squid was in that ocean though. That you have the
Oh
Pacific
gee,
Ocean.
squid is in every ocean, my love.
Was that a racial slur by you?
No.
Josh Foster says, Simi Valley is where they moved the
Yeah.
the Rodney King.
That's where he was beat up. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Simi Valley. Thank you, Josh. Kathy Scott says, I worked in a prison. I pack a 9mm. Wow.
Wow.
Oh.
I'm
Braver
jealous,
than
Kathy.
me.
I love prison. I hate men, but I love prison.
That's why you love Oz so much.
Anything, any prison television show or movie, I am all over it. And that's why I love Mayor of Kingstown. I'm jealous, Kathy. Kat, do you work in the female prison, a la Orange is the New Black, or in a men's prison?
I could be
hate
wrong, but
men.
I think you have to now. I don't know. I'm probably
We
wrong.
should have it like that. There shouldn't be women in men's prison. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. They're so at risk. It's so inappropriate. It's so bad. The juxtaposition of that is so. Does it ever go right? Is that ever a good thing?
If you were working with rational humans, it would be fine.
You know how much I hate men. But I'm going to say this, and the NBA should not have female officials. You know why? Because, Sarah, have you ever watched a brawl in the NBA? You know who's breaking up the fights?
Yes.
Somehow the refs are supposed to break
I
up
do
fights.
agree with you. Yes.
And when I do scholastic sports, we are not supposed to have anything to do with that. We're supposed to step back and report it. Like, I don't listen to that. I mean, I'll break it up, but we're not supposed to. We're legally, everything's a lawsuit now.
Yeah.
So, but in the NBA, they have to break the. So imagine breaking up a fight.
Imagine breaking up an Xavier McDaniel and
Charles Oakley.
Yeah, fight.
That's or in modern day, like even more like Steven Adams against Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
So now a 5'9" female official who weighs 120 pounds is going to hold back and get in between Steven Adams and Joe. They are begging.
I think it's worse than the NFL. You got to break that. You got to pull people off the pile.
The
to
NFL
see who
at
came
least
up
you
with the
have,
fumble.
Yes. Yes.
They don't want to get up off that pile.
No.
So you gotta pry them up off the turf, and if they start to fight, then you are effed.
But
if you're a woman official, run for the locker room when a fight breaks out.
Lauren agrees with you, Sarah. She saw it in the theater. I can't believe that was in the theater. I wonder what the
Well, you've been educated today.
I wonder what the box office take for that was.
Probably. I don't think it was a lot.
Somebody earlier in the chat, I was going on. I got distracted by something. Surprise, surprise. And they had told me the budget of The Bachelor was $20 million. Whoever that was, thank you very much. Identify yourself, because I saw it and I had to move on to something, and I wanted to give you the props for that. The Artie Lang, Chris O'Donnell movie, the budget was $20 million, which is crazy to think about.
That is crazy.
I'm sure that was after Renee Zellweger had become a star, right after Jerry Maguire.
Kathy says it's a men's prison. Jeez.
It's a men's prison. They house 2,000 men. I hate 2,000 men under one roof.
Oh my God.
Good for you, Kathy. You're braver than I.
Yeah.
I worked at Fort Leavenworth. David C. Jesus Christ. God, am I jealous of him too. The stories these two must have. David C. and Kathy Scott, do you have stories that are so crazy that you won't even say it to civilians because they wouldn't believe it? Like, it's so crazy that you're like, oh, they're not going to. This is what we saw, and I'm not going to even try because no one's going to believe it anyway. These prisoners get so innovative. They get so creative in how they entertain themselves, but how they get away with shit. Like, really, like, you know, the whole MacGyver thing, and it just I'm surprised now that they're just not on to everything. Like, these guys have tried every trick in the book at this point. We've seen it all. They can't get away with anything anymore.
I was watching Escape from Dannemora with Benicio del Toro, and Ben Stiller directed it. But you know, it's all about that, just like this really creative way to escape prison.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I was supposed to see that. What's the title of it again, David?
Escape from Dannemora.
Wasn't Stiller on Howard promoting it?
He probably was. Yeah, it came out like maybe
I meant
4 years
to
ago.
watch that. That's great. Benicio del Toro is a great. I could see him in that.
And the Patricia Arquette is in it as well.
Yes. Okay. Benicio was a huge Depp defender when nobody else would. He stepped up and said, "Fuck that." You know, it was like he was like the first one to really just own it and just go, "Nope, bullshit. She's lying." He didn't give a shit. He didn't care who was going to alienate him. I was just thinking of Prison and Depp too. The movie Blow, which we probably all saw. Hopefully, everybody in this chat saw Blow. There's a when George Young goes to he goes to Otisville. No, I'm sorry, Danbury, Connecticut prison. At first, the first prison he went to in the movie. If you read the book, the prison scenes should have been way more expansive. And this is what I talk about with Brasco, how Brasco should be a miniseries on like Netflix. It's too much for one movie. The extent of that story and all the layers you could give to it. Blow is the same thing. Blow should be they should do Blow again as a miniseries.
Yeah.
On one of the
and that's what Escape from Dannemora is. It's a mini series, and there's so much world building in it, and it's just great. It's really Ben Stiller did a good job.
Watching that. Yeah. What, it came out like what, 5 years ago or something?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Stu Chrysler and Dominic Zola are both in I think they're in Leavenworth together in the same cell. Thanks, Brendan. He's right. I had that PCPBO 23 had the Bachelor budget. $20 million for that thing. I wonder where they spent that on. Artie got we needed $8 million for Artie.
Yeah, right.
I bet you Zellweger got $8 million for that. 5 to $8 million. Yeah, and O'Donnell got the other 5. I bet guaranteed. Kathy Scott says yes, they have to think about this shit 24 hours, 7 days a week in order to pull it off. David C. Military inmates are no better, and they're always plotting. That's got to make you so neurotic. Just as a corrections officer or any employee of a correction facility, you know that they're plotting shit all the time. Like, you can't trust anything, even the most mundane conversations. You know they're winking at someone in the background. They're always scheming. That would just make you nuts after a while. Could you imagine that? You always there's no such thing as mundanity. They're always plotting something.
It's almost like a job, like an air traffic controller, where you can only do it for so many years before they make you retire from it.
They should make the retirement 10 years at most. It shouldn't be any more than that. There's no way you could do that longer than that without keeping your sanity. I've heard about like suicide rate with cops and correction, because like you're seeing the people at the worst of the worst of the worst, and it just, you lose faith in humanity if you're there too long. You just like, this is what, and some of these people are a product of their own environment. Let's face it, right? There's no way out. They have no resources or connections, and they just have to go to crime. You tell me, like, the balls in my ass, if you said to me, hey, take this package down. I'd say this to A. Smith all the time. Take this package down the street. I'll give you $5,000. I'd do it. I'd do it. You know, I'd do it.
Totally.
It's worth the risk. But that played the hammer in the, yeah. So, oh God, thank you, Kathy. Kathy's referencing Swallowed Alive in season 3 of 21 Jump Street. When they go on to, and again, this is where you're going like, why are they in there again? So it's apparently there's a drug distribution, and it's a juvenile prison, and the average age of the actors in that have to be 28, 27.
Right.
And Hansen goes in there, and Penhall, Aoki, and Booker both get transferred out because of, they pull them out. Penhall has a claustrophobic breakdown, and they pull him out. So Hansen's by himself, which it would never happen. Why Aoki had to leave, I have no idea. So then he's in there by himself, and of course they make a move on him, and he actually takes out the main guy. He beats up a teenager essentially. He's 25, and so he becomes the Hammer. And she's saying, this is a pretty crazy scene in the thing. And Kathy Scott says that scene's nothing compared to what she sees violence-wise on a regular basis. That's a pretty crazy scene. They steal it. They steal it from Bad Boys, by the way.
Aoki had to go make out with a 16-year-old.
We talked about that yesterday because this is another him, and this is the third time now he's been involved with because he had making out with the Polak in the theater,
Right.
and then the second one was the teen prostitute. He's the main cop on that,
Right.
the high school prostitute, and then he's involved in this. So anytime it's like a statutory rape scenario, rape, Aoki's the guy.
Yeah.
And it's got. I wonder if there's a racist tinge to that. Let's have the Asian always be part of the statutory rape scenarios on this show. David C.
Yeah, I don't know, but I wonder if it's to play against type almost. Like he's not like whatever that character in 16 Candles is. He's not,
I mean, Asian's
he's actually
supposed to be just
convincing
like,
of the Lothario.
The least amount of crime, like that's a great question for Kathy Scott and David C. What percentage of your prisoners were Asians? Probably 0. Right? It's like a very, very, they don't do anything wrong. The culture is just so well behaved and so by the letter of the law. And I've heard that most every prison, like the lowest population is Asians, and none. David C says 0, none. Jesus Christ, that's so funny. When they do, that's why Aoki says there's no one would believe an Asian would actually be in prison. Okay. Next story here. I'm going to show you. Okay. This has been going around the last week. This is not news, but they're trying to make it. This is Depp's obsession with England, and so now what is he up to today? And he's staying at it. So this like every major news source has latched on to this, and it's not even a big story at all. It's really not. It's sort of like he's got 8 residents or whatever, and so now he's supposedly spent, because of the Jeff Beck thing, he's spending all his time in England. And where are we? Okay, Johnny Depp shares about life in rural England and being shy during a rare interview. So apparently somebody got a hold of him and he was raving about England again. Johnny Depp shared that his life in Somerset allows him to be himself, which he says is a rather shy person. The pirate has docked his ship on the other side of the pond. Johnny Depp recently shared a little taste of his life in Somerset, a rural part of England where he's been living. The Pirates of the Caribbean actor noted that the southwest England county is a place that provides him with a life that is more out of the limelight. I've heard this so many times with him over the years, and I can go into shops without being surrounded by people wanting selfies. I don't mind it up to a point, but sometimes it gets a little too crowded. Depp told Somerset Life magazine for their April issue, per people, I don't mind if people want an autograph or a brief chat. Not when I'm having some, private time with my family. British people are cool and will greet you as if you're a neighbor without going over the top. While Depp is no stranger to receiving attention from fans, he shared that he isn't the extrovert that one might assume him to be. In truth, I'm kind of a shy, quiet person. He said, that's one of the great things about Britain, and especially Somerset. I can just be me, and that's nice. Reflecting on all his properties, Depp noted that his homes all serve a purpose. I just love places with character. I have various houses in various places, and they all mean something special to me. He said, I don't have them just to say I own them. I have them for use, and because they're all a bit special to me at some point. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. What was the country that had him guilty out of 12 out of 14 cases of abuse?
Right.
Was that America or was that England? You want to flee to the place that thinks you're guilty of domestic abuse and has no problem and are allowed to write it. Because of why?
Yeah.
Because you like Monty Python? Because it looks cool to say you're from Britain? But you remember that song, Sarah? I know you do. I'm Afraid of America by David Bowie.
I'm Afraid of Americans.
Okay. And what's his name from
Trent Reznor, but it's a
Trent
David
Reznor.
Bowie song.
So the two
Trent
of them
Reznor just did the
collaborate.
remix.
Okay. And there's a video of them running around. And do you remember the title? Remember the beginning? It says Johnny is an American.
Yes, Trent Reznor plays
right.
Johnny.
When I first heard that song, I couldn't stop thinking about Depp and his weirdness with American stuff. I feel like he's trying to live up to the lyrics in that song, to pretend. I would be afraid. What's the country you'd be afraid of more? The country that had you convicted 12 out of 14 cases, the country that found you innocent with 7 juries with a clean sweep, that had thousands of fans greeting you and comforting you in Fairfax, Virginia. What's the country you'd be afraid of? Who has your back?
Yeah, right. And also, before the verdict was even announced, went back to the country that found him guilty.
To miss the verdict, which pisses me off to no end.
Right.
There's no dissuading him from this fucking dry humping of all things British, and it's unbelievable. There's nothing you can do to dissuade him.
Cowlaw says that Gina Duder says the interview is fake.
Oh, Gina Duder's knows. I'm gonna go with that. But Cowla, doesn't it sound like something he would say though? And it's someone, I guess the key to having it be convincing is that he would look like he said it. But that's not. Maybe they might have cherry picked quotes from old interviews and thrown it into that to make it look like it was modern day.
I was going to say, this is like the biggest name that Somerset Life has ever gotten, I'm sure. Talking to Johnny Depp.
He'll speak to any British publication as opposed to. But it's amazing. I mean, you talk about not checking your sources, because I just happened to choose E. I mean, there's like 50 different online publications ran with this. So they're all wrong. Like none of them check their sources. Is it that hacky of that lazy?
Must have been put out by the Somerset Tourism Board.
That's funny.
I think that these like low rent publications, they figure they'll do things where it's like, if it's good enough for the New York Times fact checker, then it's good enough for us, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like no one checks their sources, and
Kathy Scott and David C. confirmed there are 0.0 Asians in both of their collective prisons. 0. Is that? I mean, you talk about. Is that it's a compliment to the Asian community, but is it also that maybe they don't assert themselves enough? Like maybe they're trying too hard to be good. Like there's no corruption. Like they never take risk. Everything's so mathematical all the time. It's more of a compliment than anything else. It just, that culture is just all about, courtesy and being well behaved and not rocking the boat. Doing the right thing. But I mean, come on, you'd think there'd be one, right? There's
one
0.
dissident, yeah.
The last time they were bad was in Karate Kid Part 2.
By the way,
Karate Kid. Go ahead, W.
I was just going to say, the Howard Stern of England would report his father's death in Somerset Life.
Speaking of which, Josh Foster says Depp would only talk to the British version of Dan's papers.
Oh my God, beat me to it.
Danny Depp.
I didn't even
Danny
see
Depp,
that.
David's favorite author. David's favorite fiction writer. Folsom Prison, says David C. The population is most of the Asian population is in California, and that's true, and New York. I wonder why. I guess that's the most, like, obviously it's coastal, but it's like, is that where they think the money is? So let's go to the most, highest affluent areas and set up shop and do something. I always say with
that's a reach.
Chinese food, I fancy myself a decent culinary guy. I cannot simulate Chinese food at home.
You haven't tried.
I've tried here and there, and it is not even close.
You buy a wok and you go from there.
They have their own, like, MSG ingredient, like that they don't want you to have. They don't want you. They don't want to sell it. It's not mass produced, and you can't do what they can do with their. I'm sure if you really had the money and the wherewithal, you could. But civilians just casually cooking at home, you can't simulate what they do. And they have you over a barrel that way. You can't do Chinese food as good as them.
They have you over a barrel.
Dorian,
that's their biggest plot.
Growing up in San Francisco, I knew a few Asian gangsters that did time. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's crazy. I mean, but that's what it takes. You have to be in the actual Asian mafia in order to do time. Like nobody does just like general civilian crimes. It's got to be like that's the hardcore. My friend works at a prison in China, and they happen to all be Asian prisoners. That'd be funny if they were all American in the Asian prison.
That's hilarious. In the deafening in China that's happening right now, they're having the same conversations, asking if any white people are in prisons in China.
So speaking of nepotism and cronyism, this is Ben Chu on Court TV with Sarah's favorite Vinnie Politan, and talking about the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. So I gotta follow up to this because I always wondered where Depp and Gwyneth Paltrow were today after the Mortdecai disaster, and I have a feeling it ain't good because there's no way. I want you to hear what Ben Chu says about Paltrow because I expected him to compliment her. Not so.
When you said Ben Chu and nepotism, I thought you were going to talk about Ben Chu's comedian brother.
Oh shit! Tell us everybody about that, David.
Well, he met one of the Core TV things we watched many episodes ago. Ben Chu was being interviewed, and he mentioned he has a brother who's a stand-up comedian. And I went to look up. His name is Peter, and I went to look up any YouTube pages, and I found him. He only has like 2 videos up, and it is painfully unfunny.
Michael
stand-up
Douglas had a
comedy.
brother, Eric Douglas, who's a comedian.
Oh yeah, who was a
That's
comedian.
what it
Yeah.
reminds me of. And so David went and looked up fucking Ben
Peter
Chu's
Chu.
brother's Peter Chu's stand-up. Who would you compare him to? Is he younger than Ben or is he older?
You know, I think he's probably a little bit younger. I mean, they're comparably aged, but do you remember James the Smelly Intern when he would do
Smelly
like
James.
stand up? Yeah, Smelly James, right.
That's a great
so
comparison.
when he would do stand up and it's sort of like intentionally unfunny, but he thinks that it's going to be funny by the fact that he's not getting laughs. It
And
reminds
eventually
me of
you
that.
start laughing at it because it's so you're ironically
Right.
laughing at him, but he doesn't know why. Right.
You're right, exactly, and yet that's his plan. It's very Benji Vortex kind of Andy Kaufman humor, you know, but not. He's not successful with it. It's not good.
I can't wait to watch it because you sent me, and Where is it? Where is he performing? The Viper Room.
The Viper Room.
The Viper Room Lounge. What it's been changed to.
I mean, I think he lives in Texas, so the videos he posted were probably from 7 years ago too, and there's only 2 of them. So,
you know, Dennis Miller's brother owns a comedy club in Texas. He has 2 brothers. One of his brothers is a super Hollywood power broker agent. His name's Jimmy, and he represents did represent Jim Carrey, Jack Black. It was crazy. Will Ferrell. He was on Howard twice. He came in with Jim Carrey, and he came in there, and all they did was talk about Dennis the whole time. This is before Jim Carrey really hit. And he has a brother his other brother owns a comedy club in Texas, and I don't know if it's Austin or
competing with Joe Rogan and his new comedy club.
That's what I think. It might be Austin, Sarah. I don't. And that might be where he performed, David.
That maybe. I mean, he was not good. It looks like he was at an open mic night. I mean, seriously, it doesn't even look like he was booked in a professional way. By the way, I meant to mention this to you. I have a vague memory of a Dennis Miller rant where he's complaining about going to see movies in a movie theater. And one of his jokes, and I'm doing that in quotes, is saying something like, ticket prices have inflated like Johnny Depp's salary. And
did he say that?
I think it was either Johnny Depp or Leonardo DiCaprio.
Probably,
but I remember thinking at the time, I was like, that's more a causal relationship than a metaphor. Like, that's not even a joke.
Nobody's more overpaid than he is doing these Bill O'Reilly signing greets. You talk about a deal with the devil and getting in bed, selling out to that's what I really think Dennis Miller accrued some kind of small fortune by just going the opposite of like Bill Maher and Jon Stewart deliberately without actually believing it, and then doing these like right after Bill O'Reilly pushed his family down the stairs, he's doing meet and greets with Bill O'Reilly to get that entire the Trump the funding that Trump gets from people donating to him is on par with the same people that would go to a Bill O'Reilly meet and greet. Like they'll just throw anything at them.
Yeah, not to turn this to Dennis Miller. Is he? I don't even know the last thing he's done, even in terms of being interviewed.
Oh,
anywhere.
he's in hiding.
Okay.
Because of the way politics have gone, he went so far right that he became embarrassing. Like he couldn't even defend this anymore. Do you remember this comedian? God, what the hell is her name? She did the Correspondents' Dinner and she made fun of Huckabee
Michelle
Sanders.
Wolf.
Yes, Michelle Wolf. And so he went on Twitter and made this joke how horrid Michelle Wolf is. How dare you make fun? Meanwhile, his whole career is based on goofing on politicians. And the entire comedy community just turned on him, just eviscerated him on Twitter. He deactivated his Twitter and just went into hiding in fucking Santa Barbara. And really, he did it. He did a podcast where it was 50 minutes a week. He couldn't even handle that. And he quit that. And eventually he just posts on Instagram. His wife is going on these fabulous vacations. And you're sort of going, what the hell is this guy so wealthy from? I mean, I know his career backward and forward. I cannot place it. I cannot. He's never hit with anything. He does a lot of cash grab things where he'll do a show that'll get canceled in 2 weeks and he'll get the full salary, like a game show or he's the uttermost sellout that exists. And
I mean, I wonder if he like Jay Leno, who lives off his stand-up money, like he just came into comedy in that era where they would pay you $20,000 just for saying, good evening, how are you, folks?
Very safe gigs, like gigs where it's just nothing but lemmings, like at the Atlantic City or he repeats jokes you've heard in he still does Michael Jackson and George Hamilton cross lines and the pigmentation access. He still does. I mean, that's from like a late 80s stand-up that he did. He still uses these jokes. It's like the laziest fucking thing, but he's appealing to a very specific demographic that will pay anything. So I'm talking about the Bill O'Reilly meet and greets. They make a lot of money on those.
Sure.
That's sort of like, that donating kind of crazy right-wing Fox News neocon crowd that'll just give him anything. And I think maybe he invested wisely, but you ain't living by Oprah on accident.
No, Santa Barbara is that is untenable if you don't have regular work. That is true.
Yep. Yeah, David C goes, he made a lot of money from what he had. That HBO show, I don't know, David, that's the 90s, and it was on a half-hour a week, half the year. I don't know for a fact. I don't know what his contract was for that, but it can't be what's funding all this. That could just this rarefied mansion on the water in fucking Santa Barbara. It's got to be something else. He had maybe he had the syndicated radio show. He was actually Howard's replacement in some markets as like a year later. So he had like a show, and it was mostly political, and it was very right wing, and he was syndicated. And
I remember hearing like Norm call into it, and he would have old SNL people on and stuff. Yeah,
it was distributed. Like the various markets had replacements for Howard, and he was in a few of them, but that was like a year after Howard had gone to Sirius. Corolla and David Lee Roth and that whole that was all
crew
sort of fragmented out there. So this is Ben Chu talking about the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. And as if you don't know, Gwyneth Paltrow now, and I didn't even realize this happened when it happened. Gwyneth Paltrow basically did a Halle Berry on the ski slopes, where she hit and run. She was skiing, ran into somebody and injured them, and then skied off like it never happened, which is exactly what Halle Berry did in that hit and run. The other night on Bill Maher show, it's the whitest thing you could do in the history of the world. It's Gwyneth Paltrow, there's nobody whiter than her anyway, with Hollywood privilege and nepotism, on a ski slope in Utah, running into somebody else. It's the whitest trial in the history.
Yeah, she's another Nepo baby. I forgot.
Oh,
that's
right. Bruce Paltrow and
Blythe
Danner.
Case
and Steven Spielberg's her godfather.
Oh,
I might add.
Okay, yeah.
Clients in all kinds of complex litigation, commercial litigation. Ben Chu back with us. Ben, great to see you.
Great to see you, Vinny. Great to be back. Thank you.
I want to get your reaction. It seems like Gwyneth Paltrow's team, she's an A-lister. You have a lot of experience representing an A-lister. Johnny Depp doesn't get much bigger than Johnny Depp.
I should say this. Ben Chu is 62. He looks good for 62, right? That's a very youthful looking 62. And there's no.
He looks like a 3-year-old boy going to church.
Yeah. He's a newish father, though, right?
Yes. Yes, Sarah. That's good call by you. He's got a 10-year-old. So he's like the old, like when when his son graduates high school, he'll basically be in his early 70s. Which is kind of bizarre. But kids, I mean, parents are having kids later now. Yeah, very Letterman. Right.
In handling the attention at the courthouse, it looks like they're very concerned about pictures being taken inside the courtroom and pictures being taken outside of the courthouse. So much so that Gwyneth at one point is covering her face. What are your thoughts about that and what it's like for these?
She's being filmed. Why is she worried about pictures?
Vinny, as my father would say, I am in violent agreement with you. What has been depicted outside that courthouse is nothing compared to what you've seen in other cases, certainly nothing compared to the Depp case. She needs to lose that blue notebook. I think it comes across as imperious. As you said so well, the courthouse is a public square. This isn't a family vacation away from the crowds when you have a legitimate expectation of privacy. This is a courthouse, and she's not merely a defendant. She also has her own counterclaim, albeit a symbolic one. So she has to be and act like any other litigant in the courtroom. And I think she and her lawyer do her no service.
Wow. I mean, you can see the direction he's going. Chu is not holding back. I had no idea he was going to go in this direction. By the way, did you not love the imperious he used in the beginning of this?
Yeah.
How great was that? That's almost a talisman. That's almost a vanguard or a talisman.
I haven't paid one iota a bit of attention to this. I don't even know what's going on. I know somebody's suing her. But yeah, in every shot you see, she's got this sourpuss expression on her face. It's like this the whole legal system is beneath her.
You got to read the YouTube comments because they say exactly what Sarah just said in somewhat similar way. Astonishing similar to what Sarah just said. My point, one of my points is, she was in Mortdecai with Depp.
Yeah.
So the first order of business, I would think, she would be like, okay, well, I don't want to, I'm sure Chu became really familiar with all the nuances of Depp's inner circle, career, people. Didn't know much going in, but now he does. And she is part of the one of the transcripts he conducted with Tracy Jacobs. Gwyneth Paltrow is in comes and goes in this transcript. Is it safe to say he clearly does not like her from a personal standpoint? In addition, what he says is spot on, but in addition, he would hold back if he had to, and he's not, because I think she and Depp are at odds as well. I think she might have even had Amber Heard's back during that whole thing.
I think so too.
I was just about to ask if she came out one way or the other.
She might have even they had some. I think, Sarah, were they in that movie that on Amazon? It was The Stand. Was Gwyneth Paltrow in that?
I didn't watch The Stand. I just know Alexander Skarsgård, was in it, and Amber Heard was in it.
Because Amber Heard was in it, right.
I don't know.
She's playing the part of a prima donna. And looking like a sad sack when she's sitting there at the stand. The other thing I noticed from your coverage of yesterday.
She's so Botox.
And this may have just been nervousness or an accident, but I understand that she didn't stand up when the judge and jury came in. That, intentional or not, comes off as very disrespectful. It's very important for the attorneys and the clients to get together before the trial and choreograph everything in advance. If they're focusing on things like photographs at this point, I think they're focusing on the wrong thing.
She's going to have to testify, right? She's going to have to do that.
Yep.
And to me,
everybody gets the same.
I always think that especially if you're someone as high profile as her, this may be the first time some people in that jury box have ever been in a room with a celebrity.
$10,000 bag.
To me, it was interesting during your trial that Johnny Depp always looked like he was
Sweetie,
very
you're on
much.
video.
He
Why are you
was
covering your
comfortable,
face?
number one. But number two, he understood that, you know, people were there and people would be look. He just got a different sense of his being while he's just sitting there.
I agree, Vinny, and a lot of this is just who he is. But he was inherently respectful of the judge. He was respectful of the deputies. He was respectful of the jurors. He knew that they were donating a lot of time to something that was very important to him. And he really appreciated it, and it came through in the way he behaved himself
in the ear.
in the
Formal
courtroom,
safety pin.
which was quite sincere.
All right, Ben Chew's going to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about how do you prepare an A-lister to testify in a case that is going to come down.
You and your ads.
You homo
quite
sapien.
heinous and
You want me to pay that subscription? Don't you, so you're
disturbing.
ad-free.
No.
Brought these disturbing criminal acts
That voice.
X.
against me that that were not based in
Species of truth.
any species of truth.
Amazing to
He's rattling my chair right now.
How about species of talisman? Or species of vanguard?
watch. His attorney,
It's
Ben
a good point,
Chew,
though, that they're making here. I mean, if there is an example of a celebrity, you know, acting 100% on point, inappropriate in a courtroom setting, it would be Mr. Depp.
Did we or did we not say exactly what you just said during the trial? Said if he's setting a precedent or an example, and I said one of the many lessons that I would teach on the way out when we would summarize the trial each day was that he's giving a blueprint of what Sarah just said, how to act as a celebrity like you're not entitled while the world is watching to the jury, and then how to treat everybody as equals. I mean, that's
Well,
like
he
a
also,
lesson.
if you think, if you compare their childhoods where your you know, your
Opposite.
character is formed,
Totally.
you know, that you
Opposite.
couldn't have more, you couldn't be more opposite.
She is born.
She was born in a private school.
You think Lily Rose is Lily Rose might be. She's kind of the Lily Rose of her time, like Nepo baby.
I would think
until-
Lily Rose is more well behaved than this
probably a little bit. By a little
snoot.
bit. I don't think Gwyneth lived with a 24-year-old when she was 15 in a penthouse or smoked pot at 12, but you know, it's a different behavior.
You don't know.
You don't know.
She had naked pictures with Brad Pitt that I've seen.
How old was she when she dated Brad Pitt?
That was
originally?
96 when they did Seven.
She's
So
24.
I think maybe 3 or 4 years they dated.
Okay, she's about 24.
Oh, at his
22.
prime. Oh, lucky bitch.
Lucky bitch.
And she was horrible. Somebody mentioned Seven in the comments. She was horrible in Seven. She ruined that movie.
I heard you thought Morgan Freeman was better looking than Brad Pitt during that. I heard you
way.
liked Morgan
Oh,
Freeman during
God.
that.
Brad Pitt in Seven. If the Brad Pitt from Seven came to me and he hadn't showered in a solid year, I would still take him to bed.
You know, Depp turned that down.
Did he really?
Yeah, swear to God. That was one of the many movies, the 90s, that he, you know, it was anything Brad Pitt or Keanu Reeves did, he pretty much turned down in the 90s.
This is my impersonation. This is my impersonation of Gwyneth Paltrow in Seven. You ready?
Yes.
I hate the city. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
I'll give you another one. Blythe Danner is in an episode of Columbo in the early 70s, and she is pregnant. She is pregnant with Gwyneth in the episode. Like, you know, we can all relate to that. We can all relate to being that famous. Yeah.
Steven Spielberg's your godfather. Bruce Paltrow, the director's your father. It's just Born on Third Base doesn't even cut it with her. And then she acts every bit that part. She knows that entitlement and that sort of Hollywood royalty print. It just drips off of her. She can't stop herself. And see it even in that little thing we just watched, right? She's kind of rolling her eyes without rolling her eyes. And there's just what am I doing here with these civilians? And
I mean, she's clearly a scofflaw. I mean, she thinks that she can.
Hold on.
She thinks she can.
Scofflaw. Okay, go ahead. Scofflaw.
No, I mean the definition of which is like someone who thinks they can just kind of skirt the law and like it doesn't really apply to them because they're too famous or too rich or too whatever.
Yes.
But
yes.
I mean,
yes.
that's how she comes off, you know. And one of
But
the
Scofflaw has
before
2 F's, W?
it does, yes.
Okay. I got it right.
When Kathy Griffin was still doing funny stand-up specials, like in the kind of early 2000s,
Who started
she
the
had
Bravo network, I might add. In all
Yeah.
fairness, she popularized this whole thing
Well,
with,
to be
that Andy Cohen
fair,
does.
Classic Concert started the Bravo network, and you'll never see that again.
Well, no, the original Bravo was when it was like, you know, inside
was
the
like
actor
opera,
studio. It was
yeah.
like real, you know, art.
And then
Now
along
it's-
came Vicky Gunvalson. Kathy Griffin did not start Bravo.
You know what I mean? The whole celebrity vapid trend that Andy Cohen does now.
Yeah.
She was originally kind of doing that. She had a reality show too that didn't do anything.
She did, and
Yep, I
a talk
watched it.
show.
And a talk show.
And I will say I watched every stand-up special she did on Bravo.
She's
And-
funny.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. She's funny as hell.
She's
She can
more.
be.
She tells stories more than she's funny.
Yes.
But yeah, she's all right.
What she does
I
is the
think
thing
that-
where she goes up with a bullet point list and then just riffs on a name.
Yeah.
It's usually go ahead.
Twitter
Devin.
ruined her,
Yeah.
but anyway.
I think she's similar to Howard in that the more famous she became, the more unfunny she became, because her stories were great when she was actually on the D list, like doing Hollywood Squares with, you know, Triumph the Insult Comic Dog or whatever.
Right.
But she, in one of her early specials, she talks about doing a red carpet event and having to interview Gwyneth Paltrow. And it's I won't do it because it won't be funny, but definitely look it up because she just talks about how Gwyneth Paltrow gives her this, like, you know, put upon sourpuss face and like doesn't understand her jokes, and
Right.
she just sounds like a spoiled brat, Gwyneth Paltrow.
I want to say hi to Ida Greenbacks. I saw you up there, Ida. I wanted to say hello. I was in the middle of something. I couldn't. Johnny Bye Bye, our Depp contrarian, and who helped us out in so many ways with so many public and so many links. I mean, I cannot thank him enough for all the weird stuff he excavates for us, from books to God knows what else. And we're going to do a whole show on a lot of the book stuff with Tracy Lords. And there's so many good things that people just don't talk about. The Tracy Lord stuff with the set of Crybaby is fascinating. I could not put that. I read that the other night, like everybody else, 3:30 in the morning reading Tracy Lord.
By the way, sir, not to interrupt, we still have the main event to get to.
I know. Well, I think this maybe should be. Maybe we could rework it where this is the main event. Like it just, you know, it's all subjective.
Oh, you want me to
isn't it?
change? Okay, I'll make.
No,
a new
I don't
thumbnail
want you to
then.
change your thumbnail. G Canada says everyone wants to work with Skarsgård. Welcome, sir. Oh, I said hi to him before. He was in before. He's popping in and out.
Actually, you know what? I apologize. Continue with this, and I will be happy to make a new thumbnail.
No,
This is a good main event. This is fine.
I don't know if it's a
There he is in court with him, is with us tonight. And we're talking about Gwyneth Paltrow. It's going to be a credibility battle in this case as well. So, Ben, how do you first prepare
erotic photo,
an A-list celebrity, an actor, you know, Johnny Depp, Gwyneth Paltrow, both actors, to prepare to testify, to tell their story?
And can I just say, while we're on Kathy Griffin, it's kind of interesting with her and Depp. You know, she and Depp both got killed for taking these like really oafish, sloppy shots at Trump. Depp had that thing where he's like, "What does it be like if an actor assassinated a president?" And I forget what he was speaking at, but that got a huge play. They actually used that in the Republican convention in a video montage. So celebrities hate Trump, and they show. So Kathy Griffin was the other one, and they at the same time those two got killed just by being not just you know what I mean, just for making the left look bad. And so she turns on him during the fucking trial, and she's vociferously going against it on Amber Heard's side. And she realized how over her head she was, because I think she thought she was gonna get this groundswell of like, you know, feminazi support and stuff, and she just got killed. This was like during Fairfax. Yeah.
I think the tipping point for Kathy Griffin, I think the start of the downfall is when Joan Rivers died, because
yes,
I think that was an important maternal figure for her, but I also she took over Fashion Police and it was a disaster. You know, she couldn't do it. And then I think Melissa Rivers, like was doing interviews, because I think she interpreted that Kathy Griffin was like trashing Fashion Police, and so Melissa Rivers didn't want to have anything to do with her. And then the Trump headless photo, and that, yeah, I mean, she's had a rough go of it the last 7 to 10 years. It's kind of crazy.
Speaking of hating men and Joan Rivers, David, so after I was ruminating about Talisman and I just couldn't stop it, we start talking, of course, the next logical segue is Janine Garofalo. And we talked about how like Joan Rivers is everybody's like muse, not Janine.
Right.
I want to give Janine Garofalo her props too, because this ties in so much to Depp. She was anti-Iraq and everybody killed her for it. She ends up being right. Nobody apologizes to her. And then she's a total original. Like, she is not, you cannot say that she's influenced by anybody. Like, she's a knockoff doppelganger or embryo of any. You talk about never selling out, right? Let's give Ms. Garofalo, who Sarah sounds a lot like, by the way, vocally, her props, right?
And as I said to you, my one heterosexual hall pass.
Yes, that's what I was building to.
I'm sorry.
What do you think about that,
Give it
Sarah?
away.
If he had to go hetero, it's Janine Garofalo as his hall pass.
I don't get it, but whatever. We all have weird quirks.
David's the only gay man who masturbated to Mystery Men. And the truth about cats and dogs.
What was the yeah, right. Well, she's playing the violin in that movie, so of course.
Yes, Reality Bites is when she she was in the Ben Stiller show on Fox, which Depp started the whole network, and that was a brilliant, whatever it did, 16 episodes or whatever. That was a really funny show. So she goes from that to Saturday Night Live, and there was just no way it was going to work, because she's the subject of that Saturday Night Dead article that came out, and she was so miserable on the show. She's like unleashed on everybody. And they all hated her after. But that was, I mean, I can't wait. I want to read that again. I know she's very polarizing, but I am a fan. Some of her stand-up is absolutely brilliant. So underrated.
Yeah, that 95
I
special.
know she can come off, what do they say, cunty. I don't give a shit. I think she is brilliant. I think she's a totally unique pioneer comedian who is not a ripoff of anybody.
G Canada is busting my balls.
What do you say?
He's really, David, really? There's no doubt you have no interest in women if you were picking Garofalo.
You knew he was going to find a way to emasculate. You can't emasculate a gay man, G Canada. You just can't. You just can't.
Yeah. I'm going to make every gay joke at my own expense before you do.
Janine Garofalo, everybody thought, Josh Foster, that she did the voice of Daria on MTV. I think it was based on her, but the person who voiced Daria did a Janine Garofalo impression. But everybody thought that was Janine Garofalo doing that.
This is how cheap MTV is. Every voice actor on Daria was basically like working in admin at MTV. Like the woman who voiced Daria was like a production coordinator or something.
There's a great book on the MTV generation, not just generation, but the actual MTV itself, and the stories that went on at that place and how little everybody was paid. And that points to exactly what you just said, like ridiculously low, like minimum wage, like the VJs, like were just like couldn't pay their rent and stuff. And everybody thought they were, it's a great book. I forget the title of it. It came out maybe like a decade ago. I read it.
Did I ever tell you that this is my Daria story? Can I tell it real quick?
Yes, Mike Walker.
It's so quick, but there was some vapid bitch on Radio Gunk who insulted me by calling me Daria. I was like, that's
a compliment. That's a compliment.
I was like, thank you.
It's like comparing you to Janine Garofalo.
Yeah.
That's a backward I would love to be compared to Daria.
No, this person was really dumb. So,
who hates men more?
Daria's another.
Daria.
Daria is another show where it comes to DVD and they replace all the music, and I was pissed about it.
Oh no! Yeah.
You think MTV would be prepared for that?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
What, did Beavis and Butthead go through the same thing with their music?
I think so. Yeah, that's
why you can't release a Beavis and Butthead DVD, because the whole thing is
they have to take all the music videos out.
That's crazy.
Every episode would be 5 minutes.
You guys have obviously heard my rant about Jump Street, right? The music, how
they
did the artist had no problem making money while they were being promoted on these shows. Like I bought the REM CD because of Jump Street, because I
Right.
saw it on and so many bands. But they're
Excuse
all
me.
right with cashing in then. But now when they need you on a DVD, you're going to play hardball with them. You wouldn't have even sold this shit. Like, you talk about unappreciative divas playing that reverse thing where, like, you know, the Beavis and Butthead, how much attention they gave to some, and some of it might have been negative goofing, but Daria, like, you can't allow them to. It's so petty now. It's so crazy
Yeah.
how ridiculous they are with me. They don't even know what they're blocking anymore. They're so reflexively, no, you can't use my music.
Right.
But you had no problem, like Brian at 21. Sarah, you went through this with 90210, right? The whole show is on. The soundtrack was such a big part of that show, and to deny them from, how many CDs did the artist sell on 90210 by using that show, and now they can't use it? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No. I mean,
Sarah, you muted?
and that's a big. Oh.
No,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
You were muted, right?
Yeah, you have so many late 90s garbage acts that, you know, 90210 made their career basically, and you get the DVDs and it's nothing. It's music.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
and it is the biggest deflation of what you were looking forward to. I mean, I think half the reason you was to get those memories come rushing back from hearing
And
that
nobody
music.
told you when they were selling you the DVDs that the music was missing.
Oh, they will not. They will never do that, because you'll lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll lose half your audience.
Mhm.
Your consumer.
Yep.
Well, and they think the consumers are too stupid to notice. You know.
That too.
Yeah.
No,
It's sort of like when they rebroadcast like The Simpsons on like in syndication, they'll cut the episode in length, so they'll cut like little jokes here and there, and they think, well, we have more commercials to put on, so they're not going to care if we. And some of them are like classic jokes or gags, you know, and they just don't care.
I think you're pretty prophetic there, because I think that's exactly how the conversations went. I think executives got in a room when they wanted to distribute these DVDs, and they put them together, and they said, our audience is too stupid to notice the music, this antiquated music.
Yes.
They're not going to care. Let's do it anyway. We're not going to pay for the
Yeah.
licensing or rights, even though that artist should gleefully let you use it. What are they
Yes.
losing by doing it? What are you not going to buy the song? Like, you can't download it on YouTube or time record it? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
What conversations are these people having that they're gonna? Who's not buying your fucking iTunes song because it's on a Daria DVD? Get over
Yeah.
yourself, all you motherfuckers. You're lucky you got signed in the first place. You know Simon Rex, right, Josh Foster? As soon as we brought up MTV, that was the Simon Rex portal that Josh Foster's been waiting for the last hour and a half, to bring up fucking Simon Rex again. Jesus Christ.
Josh Foster's been deliberating whether to jump back into the chat or not in case you could find a portal.
John O'Reilly, yes. Janine Hung, Al Franken. They were on Air America and say at the same time.
That's right.
You remember Air America? They had the.
I was obsessed with Air America.
Yeah, I was.
I went to bed to it every night.
Mark Maron's show was the only other show I'd listen to besides Howard in the morning. If Howard was on reruns or vacation, I'd listen to Mark Maron.
Yeah. I was obsessed with Randy Rhodes. Do you remember her?
Yeah, she was the midday.
Yep.
She sounds like Joy Behar, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes. I remember. And then Rachel Maddow had a show.
Mm-hmm.
Garofalo was on with he has a what's his Sam Simon. That was her partner.
Oh, Sam Cedar.
Sam Cedar. Sam Simon. Sam Cedar. He has his
you have it on the brain.
Majority Report show.
Yeah.
And they were together.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dorian. Yeah, Sam Cedar. Yeah, David sees SNL pays shit too. That's another good.
Yeah.
People don't realize they weren't even making, like, Dana Carvey wasn't even making six figures in his early years.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, that's why, like, you know, the biggest thing Dennis Miller's ever done is Saturday Night Live, and it probably paid him nothing. So it goes back to your question.
And
of
it
what
got
is
him
he so
every
wealthy
job
from?
after that.
Well,
He got
right,
that
and maybe
syndicated
that's what...
that syndicated talk show that came right after that, and I think it was Josh. I wonder what Monday Night Football paid him, because he had the 2
Right.
years on Monday Night Football, and I think his contract ran longer than 2 years, so they must have paid him out. I bet you it was a 5-year deal. They brought Madden in.
They paid him $200. They paid him $200 for every Pliny the Elder joke that he told.
Brendan says something tells me what Artie's opinions of Janine Garofalo are pretty accurate. Yeah, I'm sure. She goes into that feminazi mode. They are oil and vinegar, vinaigrette. They are oil and water. Artie and Janine Garofalo. Could you imagine those two on the same? Well, what was it the set of the fucking superhero parody movie? I forget the name of it. Greg Kinnear's in it.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller is the star of it.
Oh,
Anything Ben Stiller was in, Janine was in back then. I forget the name of it.
I also think Artie was more not a fan of Laura Keitlinger because she trashed Norm on Greg Fitzsimmons' show.
Well, how about Garofalo in the SNL article trashing the show? I'm sure Norm had Artie hates everybody Norm hates. He doesn't know why. Like maybe she didn't do anything to him on that set. And he lies a lot too. But he fights Norm's battles for him. So I bet you I think she took shots at Norm in the piece and stuff. You know, mystery man. Thank you, Dorian Morgan.
Sure
that's a good point, David. Artie will do anything that gets him in good stead with Norm Macdonald, except gambling debts.
Yeah.
Johnny Bye-Bye writes, seeing through Johnny's wife beater's meth cloud of bullshit. He goes right into Depp contrarian mode. Never disappoints. Then John O'Reilly goes, always has a good Ben Chew, lawyer write-up joke. They had to wake Ben from his post-lunch nap, the food coma, the steakhouse food coma he'd have after every. That's so funny. You don't know what the lawyer. You saw Depp outside, but I don't know if we saw the lawyers what they did at lunch. It was an hour and a half, right? It was a 90-minute lunch.
Yeah.
During the trial, I think I remember it being 90, sometimes 6. Sometimes Oscarati would reduce it to 60, but it was mostly 90. Doesn't Gwyneth sell eggs? True. Yes, Sue Monster. That she tells women to shove them up their vagina. Yes. That's
right.
Let me finish.
Goop.
This. Goop.
And what impact does their background as actors have in this whole process?
The first thing, Benny, I think the lawyer needs to do is to resist the natural temptation to try to control things. This is the client's opportunity, whether...
That's actually a good pushback by Johnny Bye-Bye to some people, right? Is it more respectable to suck on gummy bears and play in coloring books while you're in court? Are we suffering from Depp amnesia?
It worked.
I guess it worked, but is that some people might perceive that as his
actually
charisma.
Charming. If you want, it's charming. Come on.
Yeah, that's where his charisma can usurp anything like that.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
If she was doing that, let's switch roles. What
Gwyneth
if
Paltrow doesn't have
gummy bears?
An atom of charm.
I know she doesn't. It's amazing how she can get where she got.
Yeah.
That's nepotism. I mean, that is the height of. But what if Gwyneth were sucking on gummy bears and playing in a coloring book during the trial? During this. Like, how does that go down? She couldn't pull it off.
She never had a gummy bear in her life.
She'd throw it up.
It comes up. It comes off as conceited, and I mean, it's going to come off the same way because we already know about her from the last 30 years that she's been in show business. That, I mean, there's always been stories about her being super cold and cold shoulder and everything. Right. And so I think it is an aggregate of, we know what Johnny Depp is leading up to the trial. And so him doing the coloring books, we know his actions before that sort of set it up to be charming, but we know what her bullshit is before this trial. So it would come off as just part of her conceited affectation.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. I'm trying to tie in aggregate with arpeggiate, and I'm going to figure out how. I just need to write this aggregate and arpeggiate and see if they can work that in. Very nice. Well said, sir. Brendan says her attorney looks like one of the Nazi extras from Valkyrie. That's a great reference. Is it Tom Cruise?
Nazi doctor.
Right? You know how Sarah's obsessed with Tom Cruise being gay? Like she
Right.
her goal is to out him
Yeah, I
under
am.
all costs. So Tom Cruise is in that movie, and Sarah said the movie should be called Valkyrie.
I never
And
said
I'm
that in
like,
my life.
what? And you said that Penelope Cruz, when they were that weird relationship they had. You talk about bad chemistry, those two. That Penelope
God.
Cruz called Tom Cruise El Quiro as a nickname.
Never
was
said that in my
crazy.
life.
Yes, you did say that. Yes, you did. But Johnny Bye Bye, of course, raises, and it's just Depp rolling into court with a fucking man bun. Come on, that's Johnny. I hated that. You heard me going crazy on that. I hated that. I said that nick of time Gene Watson Depp was. I hated that look, and I can't believe. And David C. Saying how the attorneys shouldn't. They didn't. The pushback Depp got by his own attorneys as to how was very little. I mean, they just kind of did what they had to do to win it, and they weren't worried about aesthetics. Technically he won, but I still think you never risk it on something stupid like that. A man bun with the risk of one juror says, "Oh my God, what is he doing? You got to be kidding me." I don't care. I didn't listen to anything he said. I just see some fucking douche walking in with a man bun and earrings. Fuck you. No sale. He's right. I mean, I think that was horrible optics, even though he quote unquote won.
It's an actor.
The bad
or not
optics
an
for the first
actor
2
to tell
days.
his or her story.
As soon as that hair went
said,
back, he was
whichever of
redeemed.
the two parties is the most likable and the most credible is going to win. So what we did with Johnny was to take a step back and let him tell us his story, which he did largely in a chronological way, and have him tell that story the way he wanted to say it. And then we back the questions in from there. So that way he was able to speak in his own voice. It wasn't the attorneys. In fact, I think Jessica Myers, who conducted the direct of Johnny and defended his cross, and we'll get to cross in a moment, it was masterful because many people didn't even recognize or remember her questions, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. What they remembered was Johnny and his testimony. And that's the way we wanted. Camille Vasquez and Jessica Myers spent countless hours with him, listening to him. And the questions really came later. The questions were almost an afterthought and a means to enable him to tell his story the way he wanted to tell it.
It's amazing the strategy that goes into this stuff. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this trial. But above all, no matter how much legalese you have, no matter how slick of a no matter how much background you're from, no matter how much law charisma and optics trump anything you can do spitting out the law. It's crazy. I mean, it's like it almost makes you question whether you need that kind of training. Right? If what he just said is like everything. Do you trust this person? Do you believe them? Do you like them better? Simply put, as just a simpleton would say, do you like them better? And I don't care what. I honestly think the jury just slept and didn't pay attention to 80% of it, and was just we just like him better.
Yeah,
and that's what he put out there. His charisma won the day.
Yeah, it reminds me. A couple of years ago, you guys did like a Shuli show, and John, you made a really good point where it's like it doesn't matter if he even tells a joke that's funny, you just hate him. Like you just
thank you.
Even if you think that the joke was well crafted or whatever, if you don't have the charisma to back it up, like we don't want you to succeed.
Exactly. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of that thought. I mean it up and down. I can't, no matter how comedic. Well, we say this too, Davey. We talk about Martin Short and not that he's not likable, but he's not likable. Tracy Ullman. Like, I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how many characters you can do.
Yeah.
I don't care how successful you are in improv class. If I don't like you, if I'm not invested in what you're doing, it doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how many hours of stand-up you put in. That whole Malcolm Gladwell rule about the 10,000. It doesn't mean shit if you're not likable. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
There are people who get casted. There are comedians who cut the line, and in any walk of entertainment, we'll just use comedy as a way. The guy who gets the sitcom in 6 months, and he goes, "Oh, well, just
Right.
America just likes you. They just get you." And then whoever like Rich Jenny goes, "I've been doing stand up for 35 years, and I can't get arrested," even though Platypus Man's your favorite show, but never, you know what I mean? The working
right.
comic on the road who just can't get arrested. He knows he can do this act left and right. He knows he can tell any joke. He knows he can memorize stuff and riff with the crowd, but you just don't give a shit. You just don't like him.
Yeah.
And he hasn't,
Right.
he's been doing the same thing for 35 years. The charisma's not there. I don't care how much you want it. I don't care how much you think you fucking paid your dues. I don't care how entitled you are. I don't care what family members are impressed that you're doing stand-up, or your Jewish family thinks it's noble for you to be a stand-up. I'm talking to you, Shuli. Nobody likes you. You came in last in the Win Stuttering John contest. After Chauncey, Joey Boots, John the Stutterer, the audience hates you, but you continue to foist yourself on the world of entertainment, if this is what you call it. And
you want to know?
matter,
You want
everyone
to be
hates your
more
guts. They'll
angry
always
about
hate
this?
you.
You want to hear something that's going to make you more angry? Ready? Shuli makes $2,000 a day in super chats.
That's bullshit.
Oh.
That's bullshit. That's complete. I don't believe a word of that. That's
I got to
utter
beg
lie.
for $300 a month. Shuli makes thousands a day.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. That's an utter lie. That's to embellish, to make it look what you're missing out on. Why on earth would anyone donate to that on that level?
Stealing someone
What do
else's
you have to gain?
material.
Stealing a concept.
Yep.
Much like he stole the love lines from Dr. Drew with that stupid Dr. Fish show. And that stupid title of his, what is it? From Napoleon Dynamite.
Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico, which is what is that supposed to? What do you?
Oh,
You don't get to use
I
that.
know. I don't.
You don't
I've
get to
never
use
found that
that.
funny. It's like, okay.
But he doesn't get to use it. Is he trying to think it's? I'm not wasting time on this.
I know you are, but it's okay.
Back to Ben Show. Speaking of charisma,
Amazing to hear how that all came together, because it was so well done. You didn't really. You're right. You don't remember the questions. You may not remember who was questioning Johnny Depp, and that's what you want. So let's get to the other part now. This is the part where you've got an A-lister. A-listers are used to controlling every situation. When they're in a room, they are in charge of the room. But when you're on cross-examination, you're not in charge. You've got to answer some questions. So how do you prepare someone of that stature to be in that position?
Well, we gave that a lot of thought, and ultimately what we decided.
Sarah, you're Josh Foster's dream girl. Daria is his dream girl. I can't believe anybody would use that as an insult.
You got money, Josh? Can I retire from my job?
It to
Always
do
grifting.
was to move outside of our core
This is
team.
money for me.
That
Simon
had
Rex
people
money.
who spent so much time with Johnny through the course of discovery and through the trial. And we brought in a wonderful lawyer.
Look at Lauren Marie over here. Look at this.
I can't with the goop. First of all, the name makes me nauseous, goop. But and a vagina candle, I cannot. I'm sorry.
Lauren, who are you? Blythe Danner
Oh,
over
God.
there. I love Goop. Her skincare products are amazing. Oh, she's
She kind of
entitled
looks
to
like
her
Blythe
opinion.
Danner.
Lauren, you
Yeah.
look like a young Blythe Danner.
I think she's
says
prettier than
David.
Blythe Danner.
Definitely.
We all
She
have
does,
our
kinda.
we all have
Yeah,
our
you're
likes. I like to vintage shop.
Yes.
Lauren Marie loves goop.
Has anybody ever tried Goop to know you just hate Gwyneth Paltrow so much you wouldn't even try it? Is that what
I bought stuff from Jessica Alba's company, the Honest Company, but I've
Yeah,
never
she
tried
created
Goop.
that, sure.
I know
she created
exactly.
that.
She's a billionaire from
Yeah, she created that.
Sickening.
Well, you know that thing they do in Hollywood, right? This is where the agent takes their client and they hook them up with a financier who's starting a company, and they say, well, we don't give a shit about Mr. Wagasaki. Let's use Jessica Alba as the face of the company.
Yeah.
And then they launch
Yeah,
it.
but you know,
they're licensing their name.
Yes, yes.
You know, Jessica Alba's in a lab with beakers and
yes. Trust the science. Right. You talk about
Fully made up, wearing goggles.
yeah.
Imagine having her career like where you just get stuff completely based on 99% of everything she's ever gotten is just based on being a hot chick.
Because you danced in a cult movie in full leather as a stripper.
Oh, no. Not only that, she's so much privilege. She doesn't even have to be nude playing a stripper in an NC-17 movie, which you talk about Sin City. She's not even nude in the movie. She doesn't even have to do that.
Or she was in. There was one shot of her swimming underwater in whatever the movie that was.
Yeah,
called
Out of the Blue or something, Into
yeah.
the Blue, right, with Paul Walker.
Yeah.
But if you talk to Jessica Alba, she would tell you that, I'm sure, that there's a lot more going on than how she looks. There's much more nuance and depth, and it's got nothing to do with. And then she gets this honest company. Could you step it, like, can I take 1% of Jessica Alba's privilege and fortune and just distribute it to the rest of America, and you'd have no homelessness, you'd have no hunger problem. Are you talking about like the rich get richer? Like, is she not the very definition of just like, how many times can one step in shit, the genetic hand, and then everything just falls right over and over again?
Right.
Take 1% of her privilege and just distribute it to the rest of America. We have no problems.
You got it.
Yeah, I agree. I love that her name is
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me take care of that. Hang on.
No, play it.
No big deal.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
Leave it.
No big deal. I'm kidding.
Or Boston, who is actually in reality a very nice guy, but he can be a voracious cross-examiner. And we told Johnny that we were going to bring him in.
Sarah, what David C is saying here. Do you think Paltrow is hated by both men and women?
I think Paltrow is actually beloved by many women, but Depp more.
Beth. Yes. She's not a bad actress, but again, she has all the opportunity in the world. She should be good because you have all the advantages in the world.
And that suit, by the way, that was his best suit.
All suits look the same to me, like eyebrows and white.
I don't even understand the concept of a suit. Who invented a suit? Who invented
I don't know.
Piece of fabric hanging from a neck? I don't get it.
As someone who has a high metabolism and I sweat a lot, a suit is my biggest nightmare in the heat. Like, there's a lot of people who are sweaters that hate the concept of the suit, like where you wear it. Is there anything worse than wearing that in mid-July or late July at a wedding at 2:00?
And you're a runner too, right, John?
Yeah.
Or you were?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh God, that must have been a nightmare.
I mean, when you did Streisand, when you did Josh Brolin's, what did you wear during that? You didn't have board shorts on, right?
No, I wish. No, it was it was like a tux jacket and dress shirt.
Outside,
yeah. But we're under. Like I sent you the whatever.
Yeah,
TV
I love that. I love how the mirror has. She wouldn't show her right side, even in this shot.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like, "Congratulations!" And Streisand's hiding her fucking profile.
Yeah.
I want to see that picture.
You got it. Yeah, show it. Send it to Sarah if you can, David.
I will. Yeah, I'll send you
it to the email.
I will. I'll send the Instagram link.
What time of year was it, David?
That was May 1st of 2022.
Okay.
So it was beautiful weather, and we were under a bunch of trees. But yeah, I have to wear like a suit and tie to do this stuff too. And it's I'm actually like doing stuff with my hands, so it's like really inhibitive, and
you must have been a sweatbox, and I mean that in the most complimentary way.
Yeah.
If you're working hard,
it's
you must have been. Could you have taken the jacket off, or you had to have it on?
Oh, God forbid.
God
forbid.
I know.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a it depends on the venue, and sort of like I've played for weddings where it's like not that fancy, so it can just be like a dress shirt and slacks. But this one was like pretty fancy, so I had to be in a suit and tie. It was crazy.
Like I said, you must have been terrified because you people love Streisand, and this to you is like, if someone told you at 14 when you're watching A Mirror Has Two Faces, like, you're gonna be
when I'm watching Nuts,
you're watching Nuts. you're gonna be playing for Barbra Streisand at her stepson's wedding.
Yeah,
I'm
sitting.
Granddaughter, right? Great granddaughter, step granddaughter.
Yeah, step granddaughter. Yeah, because
Right.
yeah, I'm sitting in a beanbag chair at 14, watching like Prince of Tides or something.
Crazy. It
Yeah.
really is crazy. It's the most rarefied, pretentious scenario I can think of to be at something like that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, the protocol, and I'm sure there were no cameras, right? You had to submit your cell phone to the
Oh
someone
no,
grab your
no,
phone on the way in.
we could keep the phones, but I mean, it
Okay.
was because it was on his property, and there was probably only, I'm going to say 45 people there, so it wasn't that big of a crowd.
Wow.
I think she probably felt more comfortable as a result because it's on their property and it's not that many people, and the only photographers were just the photographers that the couple hired, so there's no paparazzi or anything like that.
45 people, and they still didn't talk to you. That's how.
Yeah.
That's how snobbish they were. Could you imagine having a wedding, Sarah? 45. It's always 45 people, and you don't speak to the musicians who did this.
You don't speak to the
beautiful
musicians,
job.
right?
You won't even, like I say, one of the things great about Depp is he'd actually jump on stage and play with you. I think.
Right.
My musicians came out of a boombox at my wedding, so
that's nothing wrong with that. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Your boombox.
Hey, David, what was the last question about this? What was the strangest thing they had you play? Give me like a pop song. Give me something that might be.
Well, we only did two songs. We did an Elliott Smith song, which I can't remember the name of. Oh, and we did this bizarre. I can't even tell you what it is because it's almost like.
How did they choose this?
The couple between the two of them, and I had to. I didn't get paid for this, but I had to send them a recording of what the music would sound like because it was being arranged for two cello players, and they were like, "Well, we need to know what it sounds like first," and which is fine, but I'm happy to do that. But they didn't pay extra for that, so
yeah,
I just kind of, I did as I was told because I was like, all right, it's a big celeb wedding, so
if they were nice to you, maybe you would have no problem going the extra mile. If they had some personal.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, it was. I don't know. I mean, I didn't really want any. I'm not a fan of any of these people, so I don't really care that much. But they chose an Elliott Smith song, and then the second song was like this obscure like Northern California band. Like seriously, no one knows them. It's just like it was probably friends of theirs.
You got Josh Brolin's ear, and you did nothing but talk about 21 Jump Street, him not getting the role of Hanson, because that's what I would do.
Yes.
Even though he was Thanos and Cable and stuff.
I would have played. What we should have done is played the theme from that A Little Romance, that Diane Lane movie she did when she was like 13.
Just play Diane Lane stuff. Just talk about nothing but Diane Lane to him the whole time.
Right. do the theme from Under the Tuscan Sun for hours on end.
Sarah likes that movie.
No,
Speaking
I don't.
of scissoring, right? you should have busted into like Streisand, Bee Gees collaborations, like right as soon as there was a lull, like, and we got nothing to be guilty of. Our love is 1 in a million. I can't see that way. Get him out now.
I know. Oh my God, that's
you
so
had
funny.
Miss Streisand leave.
Yeah.
Paltrow is not as classy as that effortlessly beautiful debutante, Shanley Painter. Johnny Bye-Bye with the core TV reference. Lauren Marie's a Gwyneth fan, though. Hey, Lauren, did you watch Duets where she sings, I love it when we're cruising together?
No, she says cousin in the song. Yeah.
Huey Lewis. Baby, let's cruise away from here. How about Paul Giamatti singing that Todd Rundgren song? Oh, what's it called? That thing and seeing everything as much as I do you.
You're one of 4 people that remembers duets.
Paul Giamatti. I was watching every Paul Giamatti movie.
I only know Duets because my former employer wrote the underscore to that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Guess who? You want to talk about nepotism? Name the director of Duets. Guess.
Oh Jesus.
Just straight up
oh,
nepotism.
I'll tell. I
is
know.
there-
Tell
go
us,
ahead.
Sarah.
Bruce Paltrow.
Yes.
Nice.
This is what Bill Maher's talking about in his rant the other night. Right? How did she get that? She auditioned fair like everybody else. She went against,
Right.
and she won. She was the best singer. She was the best
Wow.
actress for karaoke. She won that role fair and square. It had nothing to do with her father.
Yeah.
Nothing. And she'll be the first one to tell you that. Josh Foster says, I'm sure the jurors had to check off the box that said they could be impartial, judging a self-affected try-hard. Yeah, that's right. That's not. Thank you, midlife crisis. Thank you. That's because juries are chaired by barely literate nincompoops.
Just like
I
everything else in life. these
Sarah, we
days.
found out they were half Asian, right? There's a real
Many of them were Asian. Yeah.
Asian.
I think there was a
Fairfax.
Polynesian man who
Yes,
absolutely
yes.
detested Amber Heard.
There was one guy close to 70, right? He was the oldest guy and he was the
Think
most
so.
difficult or something.
No, the most difficult guy was the Polynesian guy that she just stopped looking at eventually because he would just glare back at her.
Yes. Max, the guy Herbert Arnold, welcome, sir. The guy that's suing her is a kook.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
is
seems
he?
like it from what I've read. But yeah,
I've read.
two kooks facing off in court.
But she ain't coming off better either. I mean, there was apparently when she testified, there was a really bad look she gave that kind of it's actually very interesting to see where this is going to go because I think she's repellent to a lot of those jurors. And like Maher said, it's like
it depends on which brand of kook the jury of blue collar people can tolerate more.
Yes. Brendan says that Miss Elizabeth deserves Jessica Alba's company. Randy Savage's valet. Let me just wrap this up here.
Who became quite knowledgeable about the case, but at the time he didn't know that much about it, which actually was a plus.
Herbert DNA
And
lottery.
He went after Johnny very
He's the
hard
lottery.
in a mock cross-examination. And the cross-examination that he did of Johnny in practice was much more.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that stoppage. Thank you, midlife crisis. I agree, and David agrees. David couldn't take his jacket off at Josh Brolin's party, and that's why #I hate men.
Difficult than what he ultimately faced at trial.
Sarah,
and
could
I
you
think
send
that was a
Kathy
really
Scott
good preparation.
the finger pics?
We'll talk about it in a minute.
Someone, outside of our core team because we didn't want any. We didn't want any residual blowback because it's really important, to go hard. And it would have been hard for us, emotionally and otherwise, to do what really had to be done. So by the time he went up on cross, I think you can see he didn't get angry. That's the one thing, especially the nature of that case, which...
Well, Depp's anger was very charming. It was passive-aggressive, sarcastic anger, which could come off. Some might say, I'm sure Johnny Bye-Bye will. Well, why is passive-aggressive better than just straight aggressive?
I do think it helped that he had the entire courtroom of looky-loos on his side and would laugh at every joke. They would laugh at every joke and swoon every time he looked their direction. And the jury notices that.
Well, that's why, Amber Heard herself said, that's why you shouldn't admit. It's like having a sitcom laugh track, behind you. If you take them out, will that influence the jury? How'd you say, Sarah? Looky-looks? How'd you say it?
Looky-loos.
Looky-loos. that influenced the jury, to laugh at everything in the charming way. Too. I mean, there were times where people thought he came off too. But I love, look, if I was sitting there like him, I'd be way worse. I'd just be straight up aggressive. I'd be.
And I know
I'd be ranting.
This was like, and I'm not even exaggerating. We had discussions about this. For you, and not even just that we knew all the evidence and what was going to be coming out before the trial, because we've been doing a show for a good solid 6 months before. But this was like a life moment for you because you were finally going to see him sit down in a chair in front of a camera and tell his life story.
Well, and that's why I was a little.
You actually were emotional about it, as was I.
Well, one of the problems I had is the Hunter S. Walken pace in which he spoke, which that David kind of coined.
You knew
annoyed
that,
me
though.
because it lessened the amount of stories we would get. So the slower he speaks, the less information I'm taking in. And that, I could have gotten more. This is why the unsealed documents are so important, because we're denied so much
But
of.
you had him up there for 2.5
I know.
days of just talking. That's all that you wanted.
That's mostly, what I wanted. I think that I was kind of stone faced. I was kind of like I was frozen. Like when I couldn't believe what I was watching, because you heard me for months and months and months saying, and I kept conjecturing how this will be televised, if it can be televised. It's all I talked about. And we talk about rules of the court and what kind of trial it is, and the judge has to green light it. And we first heard about that original pool camera, and I thought, oh God, it's going to be one of those cheesy where it's
do you remember
one
how
angle.
you found out? I called you and woke you up to tell you that there were going to be cameras.
You did you? Did I answer the phone?
Yes, you actually did answer the phone.
Oh my God.
You might have sent a text first that was the
No, I
nature of why
called.
you were calling. So I would.
I called you.
And it's going to be televised. You got your wish. It's going to be for months and months and months. I'm like, why are all these trials? And I was going crazy about, why is this trial televised and this isn't? Because I was so annoyed that that the UK wasn't televised. And it was the reason why we reenacted those transcripts, because I couldn't take it. I couldn't take that. They couldn't get a camera in there. I just couldn't deal with it. So I said, let's reenact it. Let's do it ourselves if they won't. And everybody should listen to us reenact the UK trial.
It's great.
Really proud of that. Thank you, David. It's just it's a good thing to fall asleep to. So, how was the food at the wedding? Ida Greenback's ass, David.
Were you allowed to eat?
Oh no, we were not. We left right after the ceremony. We were not invited to eat.
So.
That's ridiculous.
She doesn't feed the peasants.
No.
I think
it was a wedding where I was considered the help for sure.
That's crazy. That's so crazy. And you're more talented than the actual
than her
talent and than she is. I mean, we talk about this is what heteros talk about. They talk about Barbara Streisand to David in text. We talk about how she has almost a Marlon Brando like mystique that follows her around. We talk about Barbara Streisand, who she can go like years and years and years without working, and yet she's always going to be this iconoclast that everybody worships. And she goes like 5 years between movies, or hasn't performed the song, and somehow she just never loses that status as this super A-list rarefied iconoclast, because she's so doggedly inaccessible and prickly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also I think that like one of the things I said was I wouldn't call her irrelevant, but I also would call her irrelevant.
Yes.
She's a living legend, similar to a Marlon Brando at the end of his life, where he's not irrelevant, but he is, because he's doing, The Freshman with Matthew Broderick, so it's like, is his career really on track at that point?
Then you brought up the Fockers, and it's like when Depp getting Marlon Brando to do stuff that he wouldn't do. You're like, oh God, all right, Brando's in it, and he got him to work. Like, your theory was that she agreed to do it only because De Niro and Dustin Hoffman were in it.
Dustin Hoffman,
Hollywood royalties working together. And Blythe Danner, exactly. It always goes back to Gwenny, doesn't it? That's amazing when you come full circle like that.
Oh, since we're paused, and before I forget, Kathy, email the deppening@gmail.com, and I will send you. I was going through my photos. I have one photo left of his finger after the bottle incident.
Oh God, yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Lauren Marie says, yes, I loved Huey Lewis in that. I've never seen him act before. That's such a bizarre. I wonder why they cast him for that. I used to know the backstory behind. I don't know why. It's bizarre. We're going to have Huey Lewis, and people are auditioning for it just because he can kind of sing, and it's a karaoke thing, and it's an interesting. I like Andre Braugher's in that, who I like. I forgot about him in that. Makes me want to watch it. Did you play the Cyndi Lauper Goonies theme? For Josh Brolin, just to fuck with him. That's so funny. Huey Lewis in the News is the first band I ever liked when I was 5 or 6. Lauren, you know the story about the lawsuit with Ray Parker Jr. and Ghostbusters, right? I Want a New Drug and the Ghostbusters theme that Huey Lewis successfully sued Ray
He
Parker
gets all the
Jr.
money from.
gets all the money from Ghost. It's
Yep.
crazy.
Oh, interesting.
Like it's irrefutable. The same riff. You could do that.
Mhm.
I see stuff all the time. I find bit off. That's the power of love. No, it was I want a new drug, right? That was the
I think so. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe
I
don't
think
know.
he's quoting the song.
Oh, he's quoting the song. Okay. The best parts in the recordings are when he's angry. I agree, Kaula. Anger is everything. Anger is all the great art, and he should be angry. And if he wasn't angry, Kaula, I'd be worried, and I'd be way worse. You want to hear me on record? I've been angrier on this show. I think I've shown more rage and octave than he did on those tapes. I could guarantee you can go back and listen to me screaming about his trial, sounding angrier than he is about Amber Heard.
I should release what I've edited out when you had technical difficulties.
Oh man.
Jesus Christ.
That's like what's his name? Casey Kasem or Bill O'Reilly tapes or
Yeah, we'll do it live.
You're embarrassed by
You made me cry once. And I edited it out.
Oh no.
Like you felt sorry for me or something?
No.
Oh, like a Pat Cooper.
You had such a breakdown once. It went on for 10 minutes, and I broke.
What was my problem? What was I?
I don't even remember.
Was it early in the morning where I just was not
probably
whacked out?
Yeah.
It's probably somewhere. Please, Sean.
I think I destroyed it permanently. But yeah, I was like, oh.
This never happened.
Yeah. And if it happens again, this will never happen.
You're right.
Johnny Bye-Bye writes, please, Sean Betts taking elevator rides with jurors in the courthouse, discreetly showing. He knows so much about this stuff. Johnny Bye-Bye has got some kind of back. If we really knew the truth about him, I bet you we could connect him to Depp in 2 steps in their life. He knows so much. Like it's not. He fits so well in on the Depp Delusion subreddit with G Canada. We got to set that up with G Canada. We got to bring in the haters to see. It'd be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. Watch them go nuts.
Johnny Bye-Bye is really a lane. Burner account.
Okay, Mr. Bredehoff. Okay, Johnny Bredehoff. Discreetly showing off his side piece all month long. Just classic Hollywood strong arming. Yeah, we got it. And Sarah, who sent you this picture of Josh Richmond again walking into the court? Because I couldn't find it.
Maybe it was Kathy.
Okay, I think it was Kathy. Josh Richmond's played Ronnie Seabach in Jump Street. He's his friend for years and years and years. I have audio on our YouTube channel of him talking about the stuff, and he did stuff for Guns N' Roses, and he's just a weird Hollywood mythic kind of guy who's one of Depp's besties, and he was with him at the Fairfax trial, and a lot of people didn't see that. And he's totally cognito, beard, sunglasses, baseball hat. And it was no way you would know it was Ronnie Seabach if we didn't know in advance to go back and look at it. Out of Greenbacks, Emily Baker's 30,000 people watching and chat donation. Oh, yeah, that's the broad from Isabo 8394. Welcome. When someone sneezed, he said, "Bless you." That's right. That was so. That's the cognoscente of Depp's the peripheral hearing and being self-aware and sort of hyper vigilant of all your surroundings during that. She's absolutely right, Isa. Is it Issa or Isabo? Isabo. 8394. That's a great callback. That little human touch goes such a long way.
Well, and like Entertainment Tonight would always pull clips of him, like when Ascarati's like roasting Rottenborn or something, and Johnny Depp starts laughing. You know, kind of. He's engaged with the humans around him. You know.
But like what Johnny Bye-Bye said, and what you said is a really good point. If Gwyneth Paltrow did that, it would not come off as well. And it's something about that innate charisma.
She would say, "Ew, are you vaccinated?"
Yeah, that fucking that lemon smell she perpetually has on her face.
Have them removed, please.
Yes. The disinterested sneer that she perfected in finishing school on the Upper East Side in the 80s as a 14-year-old. If there's one concert Brendan wants to see, it's Huey Lewis and the News with Dan McAllister. So this is a stupid. So my friend Brendan was he's working a summer job with this guy Dan McAllister, and they're talking about music, and they don't run in the same circles, and they just happen to be working together, and they're talking about music and this Jones Beach series, which is on Long Island. I don't know if you know this. All the various pop artists will go through this Jones Beach, and it runs a summer spring concert series from like I guess May through about September. It almost follows the whole Labor Day thing, and so they're talking about hit bands, and Brendan's like one of these. Like Brendan is like if you don't like good music, he will set you straight. If you're bringing up some shit band, if you're listening to heavy metal in 1991, he will set you straight. He's got really impeccable, like 120 minutes, almost. Who am I, Matt Pinfield over here? Stuff that he knows is going to stand the test of time. He will tell you that Sinead O'Connor is a better musician than people give her credit for, than that, nothing compares to you. She's much better than that. He's listening to the Smithereens and these bands and the Pretenders. I'm sorry, the Replacements, and when nobody else would. So they're having a comment. Brendan's bringing up all these hip alternative bands, and Dan McAllister goes, "Oh my God," with no irony at all. Oh my God. If there's one band, a must-see band I have to see before the end of this summer, that is Huey Lewis and the News at Jones Beach. And then there's this like thud of silence. Is he serious? Is he really? And this is like 91, when you shouldn't be listening to Huey Lewis anymore. Right. And Brendan still talks about it. And I still think about it. When I hear Huey Lewis, you can't.
It's like by 1991, all 3 Back to the Futures had been released. It's like Huey Lewis is over.
Yes. He had oh God, remember that song he had called not working for a living. Actually, he did, yeah. In the 3rd season of Jump Street, there's a Huey Lewis is on one of the soundtracks. I can't wait to get to that one. That's when the police strike happened. So they play a montage of the Jump Street crew walking into the police negotiations, and they play Huey Lewis is working for a living. Get it? Like they're all just working stiffs, and then that's 1989, I believe.
Ready to wrap this and shoot.
Johnny Bye-Bye says, "Come on, Elaine's lying on my bed smoking after her cigarette right now." Josh Brolin. Kala is right, and that's why he didn't get the role of Hanson, Kala, in Jump Street, and he got the one little role as the rich kid playing himself in season 1. Josh Brolin is the opposite of Depp's personality. I can't understand why he's the one who had to be with him. They're friends too, Kala. What the heck? And the Diane Lane thing. How did he escape the Diane Lane domestic abuse, Kala? Is it because the media is not what it is now, and we weren't as hyper attuned to the Me Too stuff? How did he escape the Diane Lane beatings, Kala? That's crazy. You're absolutely right. People need to bring that up again. That's really, really. Hey, Judy Tenuta, we just brought you up in the beginning of we talked about Depp and the Riddler, and we're going to do our show, which is an expansive look at all the comic book stuff. And I cannot wait to do it with you. I hope you'll really will join us. And that offer goes, by the way, for the Jump Street watch along. Email Sarah at thedeppening@gmail.com if you want to sit in on our future Jump Streets. I mean, I don't care how many people want to do it, whatever your take is. I really don't care. My senior quote was actually, this is Lauren Marie's yearbook. "It's hip to be square. Save the last dance for me." That's how much I used to like Huey Lewis. He's supposed to be a very nice guy, by the way. So I'm not, whether you think his music isn't the Smithereens, I've heard nothing but nice things about him as a human being. So that goes a long way.
He's a hero to Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes, that's his other hero. Letterman, Howard, and Huey Lewis. He goes on fishing trips with him to Montana, right?
Right, yeah.
They're very nostalgic for me anyway. I've always done my own thing, and good for you, Lauren. That's exactly how you should always think.
I want to be friends with Lauren. I
think you could be. I think when we do the I could see her sitting in on a Sex and the City watch along on Patreon. I feel like that's, and certainly the Ninth Gate. She's got that sewn up. That's
Lauren and I are gonna. Lauren and I are going to take over the Deppening and do an ab fab.
That's right. You're more than welcome to. If you want to record, well, more than happy to just throw it up. Why not? Why not?
Why not?
If this, oh god, if this is it, please let me know. If this ain't love, you better. Yeah, I think we all felt sorry for Huey Lewis, not because of the chick that jilted him, because he's wearing fucking blue jeans on the beach in the "If This Is It" video. I'm like, I could
Oh
not
my
stop.
god.
As someone who sweats too much, I'm just like, what are you doing? I couldn't look at him wearing jeans on the beach. What's worse? Wearing jeans on the beach or jeans playing basketball or jeans cutting the grass? What's worse out
Oh
of the
god.
three?
They're all horrible. I mean, it sounds like something. It sounds like something Billy Ray Cyrus would do in one of his music videos.
In a mullet. He did an
Yeah,
interview
right.
about it. That's right. Arm, did you see the recent article, Johnny wearing rags and living? Yeah, we read that too in the beginning, Judy
Wearing
Tanuna. We did
rags.
in England. Yeah, we kind of commented on that as well. So I want to finish this with just reading comments from this video, which backs up everything Sarah said. It's exactly, and Ben Chu. It's exactly what you think they're gonna say. So Nordic Phoenix, and you know how scathing Nordic Phoenix could get. You do see this, right? It's coming up on as I'm scrolling.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, I still don't trust the fucking streaming. Oh, Arm, it's so cute. You still don't know. You're such a Luddite. In truth, Gwyneth Paltrow is 100% authentic to herself here. She's not acting. She is an aloof, snobby prima donna. It's going to be difficult for her attorney to make her relatable to any of these jurors because Gwyneth has never, ever been that kind of real person, and she never will be. Katja writes, she is cold as a fish. And they just, I mean, this is exactly what Gwyneth Paltrow's demeanor. Cheryl Barnes, you don't want to get on her wrong side. It's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
Cheryl Barnes writes, Gwyneth Paltrow's demeanor and expressions exudes arrogant contempt. I have no idea if she's at fault for the ski accident, but she is 100% at fault for ruining her reputation. Wow. Stephanie
Jesus.
McCord, S-Mac, Steph Mac, she acts so entitled. The jury will find her liable just because they don't like it. See, this is what we're talking about, Steph.
Yeah.
Be in here. She acts so entitled because they just don't like her, simply. And not standing for the judge and jury when they enter the courtroom just shows you how disrespectful she is and that she has no manners and is completely entitled. Juries don't find people innocent or guilty because they don't like them, says Jay. Do you think that this is him trying to push back? Do you think that's justifiable? Is that what you would do? Find her guilty because she rubs you the wrong way? Jesus. Is that how you people think the courts are supposed to work?
Let's get Jay in the Deppening chat. Jesus Christ.
In my opinion, Butterfly Girl writes, that jury should not find someone guilty merely on personality. However, her arrogant facial expressions, demeanor, and rather cold ice princess responses are in fact irritating. I'm surprised Gwyneth's attorney has not educated her concerning the importance of a warm, agreeable attitude. Well said, Butterfly Girl. And this is what Ben Chu's talking about. When the bigger the star, the more intimidated I believe the lawyer is to give them directive on how to act. Like, well, I'm the actress. You stick to the legalese. Right. I'll stick to the acting. She's like going, bragging.
Right,
I mean, she literally is Pepper Potts in Iron Man. I find it so amazing how people. This is before Z, of course. I'll end it on this. I'm going to read something from the transcript. I found it so amazing how people who build their brand based on being, quote, down to earth, like Sarah is, but when the circumstances are taken out of their control, their true selves really do shine through. Wow. It's astonishing how badly she comes off because of this court case. Damn.
By the way, thank you, Kathy, for the super chat.
I'll get to that. So Wendy Butler writes that this is endless. If you want to have a good laugh, read Ben Chu's court TV appearance just now and read the comments because it's too much for me to. We almost could have spent the whole show reading these. This is Wendy Butler, of course. WB writes, lose the $5,000 leather bag, honey, the $10,000 wardrobe, and the bored look on your face. Maybe you'd have a chance. Not really. Her brand is portrayed as down to earth. Since when? When I think of her brand, I think of healthy eating and living to unrealistic degrees, and decor and gadgets that are generally unattainable due to their high price tags. And while I'm into holistic treatments, some of the treatments she promotes are way too far out there. Agreed. She's the opposite of Mr. Depp, who behaved with dignity, says Georgia Leangus. Leangus. I don't know. And then $5,000 is the cheapest bag she can find in her closet. Wendy, she left her $500,000 Birkin bag at home for the court. Is that true? Is that 500 grand?
They don't. Oh yeah, they're up there, but they don't know that. They don't know if that's true or not.
Jesus Christ! I somewhat believe that. I don't know why. So
they all have Birkin bags.
They, as in white people, or
yes,
skinny white bitches. Yeah.
This is from. Thank you, Kathy Scott. We love spending the day with you. Thank you so much for your generous prison stories. That is very what's the word I'm looking for? Candid, showing the candor and for sharing, because it is a tough. I know it's tough to talk about that, and traumatizing as it should be. But I really appreciate you. I'm obsessed with prison, and I hate men.
See, if I was the opposing counsel, I would just taunt Gwyneth Paltrow with what it was like to be in Shallow Hal with Jack Black.
Stay tuned. They might go to that. Wouldn't you, if you were the opposing counsel?
I would just
start mocking
taunt
her with
her
privilege,
worst
with
movies.
Hollywood privilege, or worst movies. Why not? Where does it say you can't do that? That's a clever trick. I'm sure honestly, that's not ridiculous. So this is from the Tracy Jacobs testimony, and I have a theory that Depp and Gwyneth Paltrow do not speak anymore after Mortdecai and this. But it says, this is Tracy Jacobs speaking. Chu talking to Jacobs says, I would objectify to the extent it calls for speculation. And then Jacobs, and then says, it's actually not speculation, but I'm going to say here that at the time he already had appeared drunk and stoned on stage, on television, and in front of a live audience, giving an award to somebody. And I got calls from every studio head. Every studio head the next day saying to me, what the hell is wrong with your client? He would show up hours late for stuff, and people don't want to deal with his lateness anymore. He's not showing up, so no one knew if he'd show up at all, because it became a very serious problem. Mr. Peterson is, I'm trying to remember. Okay, this is another lawyer on the case. I assume what you're talking about is there are not just that incident, but you mentioned something else, an award show. But prior to that, what's the history? He goes, yes. What kinds of things would happen? And then Jacob says, well, every single movie he was in, I would get calls from the people on Mortdecai, which I believe was 2014, where I would get calls from Lionsgate. I'd also get calls from Gwyneth Paltrow and her people, because he would just not show up at all. And she would want to do other movies. And that was a movie not only he was starring in, he was also producing it. And then he didn't show up at all to his press conference in Japan because he was sleeping through it. So this is during Mortdecai. And they kind of go on. And so I found out later, Gwyneth Paltrow had put stuff in the back burner to do Mortdecai, to work with him. And so he was doing that. And eventually she broke off with him and started to smear him during the Amber Heard stuff. So Chu is well aware of this, and he eviscerates her during that stuff with Court TV.
Yeah.
There's no way they're friends. There's no way they're in good stead anymore. So, could you imagine what a diva she was behind the scenes, complaining to her people about just Depp in this horrible state, just being late, and and she's not getting. You think she's used to waiting for anything on any level, or
no,
not?
I'm
immediately getting back to it. It's their privilege to have her in the movie.
Meanwhile, was Depp any worse than Harvey Weinstein to her?
Well, this is a different worse. Like this is just
right,
she can't fathom on any film her not being first in the call sheet and getting all the perks and getting. So he's just like, how dare you not get back to me in 30 seconds?
Right.
And she's trying to book other movies around this. So she doesn't know how to multitask or double book or double dip while Mortdecai's going on. So I think it prevented her from taking another movie or two while she had to commit to this. And meanwhile, his production company with him and his sister on it, thanks again, Kathy Scott, is making all the money. And so that's why I'm 90% sure that's why Chu is eviscerating him.
Yeah. I think the entire Brown Rudnick firm should do like a fashion police show, but they just criticize celebrity trials.
Yeah. Listen to David. It's always back to Kathy Griffin and the fashion police. Like, you think Josh Foster has something going on with Simon Rex? David and Kathy Griffin will give you.
It's on the brain.
It's on the brain at all times. Anyway, Sarah, thank you so much. I'm sorry. Control F. Thank you so much for all you do, David. Again, I want to put this out there for everybody. Our Patreon. I'm going to put up some tonight. I'm going to put up the Gary roast.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to put up all the stuff around it, like the wrap-up show after it, and the blowback with Beth. And I'm going to fuse it all together. And
I am next rushing in to change the thumbnail, so don't think it's a different episode. Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to change the thumbnail.
Yeah.
We've got the Gwyneth Paltrow stuff was too juicy to gloss over it, to rush through it.
Right.
David, you've always been on the vanguard of everybody's talisman. Don't ever forget that.
I will never leave a dearth of my appearances on the show.
I love a good dearth. Depp's used dearth and girth. He used girth and Gilbert Grape.
Did he ever?
Yeah, did he ever? Fashion Police, Ida Greenbacks would return. Ida, that should return. Maybe you guys can do a Fashion Police.
I think Mo should do the Fashion Police. She's so good at that stuff.
Why don't you three get together, you and Sarah and Monique, and do the?
I have no interest in Fashion Police.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought you like making fun of you broads' new clothes.
Not since I was in my teens. I don't know.
I just also don't know enough about it too. It's like,
I don't know new celebrities. I wouldn't even know who they're talking to or who they're showing. I don't know anybody now.
Lauren Ray, love the fashion and style talk. I have my own little handbag company. In fact, all right, Lauren, promote it. I
want to be her friend.
Let's hear the name of it, Lauren. Give us a plug for yourself. You sure as shit deserve it. Thank you, Brendan. Bravo to you. Thank you for honing my my musical taste. Anything I like that's hip is because of you.
And we'll be back next Friday night. So this is not a normall
Well,
day,
promote
Sunday
the other
for
stuff,
us.
Sarah. So 90210, the next watch along is this week, right?
Yeah, at some point.
Jump Street.
Yeah, I just put Jump Street up today.
Just turned up.
We're gonna have a 90210 up before the next show, which will be Friday. But yeah, go to Patreon, patreon.com/wino forever. It is $2, all you can eat.
Is there something else on the Patreon plan? So yeah, the plans of Golden Girls with David and Sarah is going to be really
I don't
good.
know that. I haven't.
You don't know but
Stop announcing things.
People love that stuff. Sex in the City is a lock. I'm not
doing Sex in the City. I'm
going
sorry.
to be. I thought you wanted to be in on that.
I don't. Let me please work it out.
I'm
before
definitely
you announce
going to be spearheading. Okay. You wanted to combine Oz with 90210.
I know. I for 2
Oz.
seconds I wanted to do 9021 Oz and have like a 90210 and Oz together.
That's hilarious.
Let's give Depp one of the last words anyway.
Blacks, Jews, Hispanics, whatever.
Thank you, Ida.
Good drops from
Ida.
Ida Greenbacks is the best, right? Is every time I think about Chicago, 21 Jump Street, I think about it often.
You cut out for me. Sorry.
What's that?
You cut out. I don't know if it was for everybody else, but you cut out just now.
You cut out.
Okay, all right. That's the cue. Let's go.
Anyway, this is Arm for Sarah and David saying...
Moo! 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 I'm a loser! Eh?
Sit down. Stay where you are. For the first time, I choose to walk out on you.
21 Jump.